As global labor migration rises, Nepal's embassy in Portugal has urged citizens to be wary of fraudulent work visa schemes. The warning comes after Portugal suspended all work visas for non-highly skilled jobs last month. Officials say hundreds of Nepali people, many already employed in the Gulf and Malaysia, have fallen victim to fake recruiters promising jobs in Europe. Portugal has become one of the fastest growing destinations for Nepali workers, with thousands arriving annually. Authorities are calling for greater international cooperation to protect migrant rights and prevent exploitation. We'll take a short break here. After the break, more news from Nepal and around the world. Stay with us. NTV World, and you are watching Prime Time News. In Kathmandu, the capital of Nepal, authorities have demolished illegal structures built by former Energy Minister Deepak Kharka on land belonging to the Nepal Scouts, the country's national youth organization. The Kathmandu metropolitan city used bulldozers to clear the site after Kharka's company failed to pay years of outstanding rent and ignored multiple eviction notices. The land had been leased in 2008 for 10 years, but the agreement expired long ago. The move is seen as a part of Nepal's wider crackdown on political misuse of public property, reflecting growing public demand for transparency and good governance. A major electricity debt dispute threatens industrial operations as 22 leading companies have paid over 182 million rupees in overdue charges for dedicated and trunk power lines. The Nepal Electricity Authority had previously cut power to 25 firms after repeated non-payment, sparking concern across the manufacturing sector. Some factories, including Butwal Cement and Agro Mills, remain offline, but officials say this marks the start of a broader effort to recover billions in outstanding energy bills. Energy Minister Kulman Ghising confirmed that debt collection will now proceed systematically, with negotiations ongoing for future installments. The total arrears, including fines, top over 2.3 billion rupees, underscoring the challenge of balancing industrial growth with energy sustainability. Analysts warn that successful enforcement could become a model for other developing economies struggling to secure utility payments while modernizing infrastructure. Nepal is navigating post-unrest recovery and growing security challenges. Amid this, Dan Bahadur Karki has been appointed as the new Inspector General of Police. At a ceremony in Kathmandu, Karki pledged to lead the force with integrity and professionalism, emphasizing teamwork and modernization to meet evolving threats. Citing the recent Gen Z movement protests, he praised all officers for maintaining stability. Karki succeeds Chandra Kuber Khapung, who retired after 3 decades of service, marking a new era for Nepal's law enforcement leadership. And in a related development, Nepal's Gen Z Movement Inquiry Commission has restricted the travel of former Inspector General of Police Chandra Kuber Khapung, who retired earlier today. The commission said Khapung must remain in Kathmandu Valley as it investigates the police response to last August's youth-led protests. Officials say he may be required to appear before the panel at any time, and foreign travel has been suspended until the inquiry concludes. The Commission has already imposed similar restrictions on several senior political figures, reflecting Nepal's growing emphasis on accountability and oversight in the wake of civil unrest. Now, in a move highlighting the global push for affordable diagnostic technology, Bir Hospital in Nepal has begun testing for 10 respiratory viruses at once using its medical genetics laboratory. Doctors say the breakthrough will make early diagnosis accessible to more people and strengthen Nepal's ability to track infectious diseases. Operating with just 3 specialists, the facility underscores both the potential and the resource challenges facing developing countries. Bir Hospital has also started simultaneous tests for 6 brain-related viruses, expanding the country's public health frontier. Global deaths from tuberculosis TB fell by 3% to 1.23 million in 2024, marking the first decline since the COVID-19 pandemic, the World Health Organization WHO said in its annual report. New TB cases also dropped by nearly 2%, with a record 8.3 million people receiving treatment last year and success rates rising to 71%. However, the organization warned that progress is under threat from funding shortfalls, with only $5.9 billion available in 2024, far below the $22 billion annual target set for 2027. WHO Chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus cautioned that reduced international aid could reverse gains, potentially causing 2 million more deaths and 10 million new infections between 2025 and 2035. While TB deaths are 29% lower than in 2015, the world remains far from the global goal of a 75% reduction by 2025. We're going for a short break and we'll come back with more from the international front. Do stay tuned. Bangladesh is on high alert as violence erupts ahead of a key verdict in the Crimes Against Humanity trial of ex-Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who remains in exile in India. The International Crimes Tribunal will announce its ruling on November 17, the first such trial of a former Bangladeshi leader. Hasina, who is 78 years old, faces charges over a deadly 2024 crackdown on protesters that left more than 1,400 dead. Authorities have deployed thousands of security personnel in Dhaka, where arson attacks, bomb blasts and street clashes have been reported. The banned Awami League has called for a Dhaka lockdown protest on verdict day. Hasina is being tried in absentia and could face life imprisonment or the death penalty if convicted. Interim leader Muhammad Yunus has urged calm, saying Bangladesh must avoid further division as it prepares for elections and a national reform referendum in 2026. Pakistan's parliament has approved a major constitutional amendment that gives lifelong immunity to the president and the country's top military leaders, a move critics say threatens democracy and weakens judicial independence. The 27th Amendment, passed with a 2/3 majority, also restructures the country's military command. It creates a powerful new position, Chief of Defense Forces, giving current Army Chief Asim Munir, now promoted to Field Marshal, authority over the Army, Navy and Air Force. Under the new law, anyone promoted to Field Marshal, Marshal of the Air Force or Admiral of the Fleet will keep their rank, uniform and privileges for life and be immune for criminal prosecution. Supporters of the amendment say it will ensure national stability and strengthen the country's defense structure. Critics, however, warn that it concentrates too much power in the hands of the military and shields top officials from accountability, posing a serious challenge to Pakistan's democratic institutions and judicial independence. Now, after 43 days of disruption, the United States government is reopening. President Donald Trump has signed a short-term spending bill to end the longest federal shutdown in U.S. history. The measure passed the House late Wednesday following a narrow Senate approval, and Trump signed it hours later in the Oval Office, pledging that government operations would now resume normally after millions were affected. The shutdown left 1.4 million federal workers unpaid or working without compensation, disrupted air travel, and delayed essential services, including food aid programs. Economists warn the pause has cost the U.S. economy billions, highlighting the wider impact of political gridlock on global markets. The government will now operate temporarily under this budget, while Congress negotiates a longer-term spending deal to prevent future shutdowns. India's government has confirmed that it was treating a car blast that killed 12 people and wounded at least 20 others in Delhi as a terror incident and vowed to bring the perpetrators to justice as swiftly as possible. In a resolution adopted late on Wednesday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's cabinet directed that the investigation into the incident be pursued with the utmost urgency and professionalism so that the perpetrators, their collaborators and their sponsors are identified and brought to justice without delay. The blast on Monday evening outside Delhi's historic Red Fort was the first such explosion in the heavily guarded city of more than 30 million people since 201 Indian authorities are investigating the blast under a stringent anti-terrorism law and have said that all angles are being probed. They have not named anyone or made any arrests in connection with the explosion. The U.S. meanwhile has offered to help India probe the explosion, according to U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio. We'll go for another short break here. Coming up next is sports update and more. Welcome back to NTV World Primetime News. More than 500,000 people in South Korea sat for the country's grueling university entrance exam on Thursday as police mobilized to ensure they made it to the test sites on time and all flights were halted for half an hour. The numbers sitting the test, essential to secure a place at the country's top universities, was the highest in 7 years. Most of the candidates were born in 2007, when there was a surge in births because it was considered an auspicious time to have a baby. Flights at all airports, including Incheon International Airport, were banned from landing or takeoff between 1 p.m. and 1:40 p.m. local time to ensure there was no disturbance while the students sat for the listening comprehension section of the English test. The decision affected 140 flights, including 65 international arrivals and departures. Flight trackers showed aircraft circling near airports as the Transport Ministry restricted aircraft from altitudes below 3,000 meters. The Australian state of Victoria has made history by signing the nation's first ever treaty with Aboriginal people, a landmark agreement aimed at advancing reconciliation and giving Indigenous communities greater control over issues that affect them. The treaty, signed into law on Thursday, will take effect on December 12. It includes a formal apology to Australia's First Nations peoples and establishes a permanent representative body to advise the Victorian government on key areas such as health, housing, education and cultural preservation. The accord comes a year after Australia's 2023 national referendum rejected a proposal to create a constitutionally enshrined Indigenous advisory body. While treaties with Indigenous peoples exist in countries such as New Zealand and Canada, Australia has long lacked such agreements. Advocates hope Victoria's move will serve as a model for other states and for renewed efforts toward a national framework for Indigenous recognition.
Today marks a turning point in our nation's history, a moment where old wounds can begin to heal and new relationships can be built on truth, justice and mutual respect.
Time now for sports update. Starting with tennis, defending champion Jannik Sinner reached the semi-finals of the ATP Finals with a 6-4, 6-3 win over two-time winner Alexander Zverev on Wednesday, with Ben Shelton eliminated after losing earlier to Felix Auger-Aliassime in the same group. Italy's Sinner extended his indoor hard-court winning streak to 28 matches, but victory over his German rival was not as comfortable as the scoreline suggests, with the world number 2 under pressure early in both sets. The pair, the only two previous ATP Finals champions in this year's competition in Italy, had both won their opening Bjorn Borg group matches. Sinner must retain his title undefeated to have any chance of ending the year as world number 1, while Carlos Alcaraz needs one more match win to stay atop the rankings. Alcaraz, with 2 wins from 2, faces Lorenzo Musetti on Thursday, with Taylor Fritz meeting Alex de Minaur in the other match of the tournament's second Jimmy Connors group. The 2028 Los Angeles Olympics will make history by featuring the women's 100-meter final on the opening day of competition. The first time ever, the marquee sprint event will precede the men's race at the Games. Organizers unveiled the full LA 28 schedule on Wednesday, describing the move as a deliberate effort to spotlight women athletes at the start of the Games. The women's event will take place on July 15, featuring all 3 rounds, heats, semi-finals and the final on the same day, a first for Olympic sprinting. Traditionally, sprinters compete in a maximum of 2 rounds per day. The change comes amid a surge in the popularity of women's sports globally and growing debate over gender eligibility policies. Multiple reports this week suggest the International Olympic Committee (IOC) is preparing to ban transgender women from competing in female categories, a move that would reshape future competitions. UEFA Euro 2028 was officially launched today with celebrations and activations across the UK and Ireland as preparations ramp up for what will be the largest sporting event ever jointly staged by the co-host nations. More than 3 million match tickets in fact, will be available, surpassing any previous Euro tournament, promising excitement for fans worldwide and long-lasting benefits for local communities. Matches will be held across 9 world-class stadiums in 8 iconic host cities, offering a spectacular showcase of elite international football. UEFA and the UK and Ireland organisers said the tournament will not only deliver thrilling football but also create a lasting legacy for communities and fans alike. A special event at 10 Downing Street on Thursday marked the UK and Ireland's hosting of the UEFA European Football Championships 2028, hailed as a milestone for unity, community and economic growth. And before wrapping up, here's a look at the headlines once again. World Bank predicts sluggish GDP growth rate for Nepal, cites recent unrest and heightened political uncertainty. Major metropolis, including Nepal's capital Kathmandu, long for cleaner air to breathe in. Winter air quality likely to further deteriorate. Election Commission consults parties for upper house election. Eligible citizens with national ID can enroll online. Bangladesh capital Dhaka reels under lockdown. Security beefed up ahead of the tribunal's verdict on ousted Prime Minister Hasina. Pakistan's parliament votes to give army chief new powers and legal immunity. Critics call the amendment funeral for democracy. And Sinner reaches the knockout stages of ATP finals, secures straight set win over third seed Zverev. And that is all from NTV World Primetime News for now. Our next bulletin will be at 10 p.m, bringing you the latest updates from Nepal and around the globe. Do join us through our social media. You can also get the latest updates from our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Sarah Sapsanamarai. Thank you for joining us. Have a wonderful evening ahead.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands.
Reporting for Public Service Broadcasting.
Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
Minutes flight across 214 kilometers, we landed at the Simikot airport. It was a great relief to land in Simikot for us, who had spent a few days in hot Nepalganj. The cool breeze welcomed us to our great expectations. According to locals, Simikot got its name with the combination of Simi and Kot. Indeed, it is the combination of Sim meaning wetland and Kot meaning green meadow. Simikot is a major point for pilgrims traveling to Mount Kailas and Mansarovar in Tibet via Hilsa. This is the easiest way to the Mansarovar, and thus many Indian pilgrims are seen here.
मेन त यो हुम्ला सिमीकोट चाहिँ तपाईको अब भनौं न अब कैलाश मानसरोवरकै गेटवे भएकोले एउटा यहाँ आउने भयो। अब हामीले पनि अब भनौं न तपाईको हुम्ला सिमीकोट चाहिँ अब तपाईको यो सदरमुकाम हो, मेन ल्यान्डिङ पोइन्ट हो हैन। अब यहाँबाट तपाईको पर्यटकहरुलाई जस्तै हाम्रो यहाँ रलिङ गुम्बाहरु छ, खारबन्दात मन्दिरहरु छ हैन। अब जस्तै यहाँ तपाईको एकदम के भन्छ प्राकृतिक सुन्दरताहरु हेर्ने ठाउँहरु थुप्रै छ। किनभने हामीले त्यो ठाउँहरुलाई चाहिँ फोकस गर्न नसकेर बाहिर ल्याउन नसकेर मात्र हो। अब ल्याउन सक्यो भने पर्यटनहरु आवश्यक नै बढी मात्रामा बढ्छ भन्ने आशा छ।
We arrived Simikot with a throng of travelers to Humla, comprising some domestic and foreign tourists. Soon our team became a cozy group of travelers. We traveled together to Limi of Namkha, among the 7 rural municipalities of the district: Semikot, Namkha, Kharpunath, Changkheli, Sarkegard, Adnacholi and Tanjakot. The jeep ride in the gravelled road is some kind of experience in this majestic terrain. However, we were disturbed by the landslides at various places of the rural road and left to travel on foot. We arrived at Chaudan Foya after a few hours of walk, but our overnight stay was still a few hours trek to Dharapuri. We stopped at many places on our way just to capture the natural beauty of the place and feel the magic in the air. These hills and the spontaneous Karnali river kept inspiring us. And on the way we see many stories of hope, determination and struggle of the locals. It was almost dusk, but our destination was still at some distance. So we increased our pace along with the local children accompanying us. We are thankful to these kids, without whom we would not have been able to know some of the very well-known places on the way. Almost 8:30 in the evening, we were still struggling to find the house where we were supposed to spend the night. Now our team was no more intact, as all had their own arrangements in small groups. We had no option but to find a place to rest for the night. We were overwhelmed by the humility and warmth of the local people. They offered a bunch of unknown travelers food and accommodation with open heart. This reminded us of the slogan, "Guest is God," in real terms. Not the most affluent of the societies, but very welcoming at heart. In need, but have the humility. Poverty-ridden, but full of humanity. We salute the rural folks who mess around the year in this inhospitable terrain for survival. The next morning, we all get together. Our next destination was Kermi. The whistling sound of Karnali flowing down somewhere, the rocky hills and the small trails like ropes attached in these hills. Risky and dangerous. Not the best of conditions for trekking, but that's where the thrill is. That's where the adventure is. The waterfalls and ponds on the way relieve us from our fatigue instantly. Chachara is one of the biggest waterfalls in this place. The soothing touch of the crystal clear water of the fall is refreshing. Our lunch was at Dade Kermi, where small tents were set up by the locals to serve food and some rest for travelers. The Chinese stoves used here are smokeless and must have eased the life of the rural folks to a larger extent. We had seen these types of stoves in Dharapuri as well. Before starting another long day of trek after lunch, we had a little rest here. Our journey to Limi is still a long way to finish. We also did not get any chance of hitchhiking as no vehicle was plying on the road due to landslide obstructions. Our journey was getting arduous by the hour, but we did not miss the chance to enjoy the natural wonder of the region. Agriculture and cattle are the main profession of the people here. People raise yaks in this rugged terrain, though they have to migrate in winter to find better grazing land locally called kharka for their prized possessions. We found herds of yaks at different places on the way. We even stopped at one of these grazing camps for a cup of tea. This place is called lashing. The tea served here is special with ghee and salt added for extra energy in the cold temperature. No wonder some of us were enjoying this tea for the first time. To our great relief, we got the news that a goods-laden truck was heading towards Limi from Tibet of China. However, we still had some distance to cover to catch the truck. We all wanted to rush with hope to reach there in time to get a lift. At the moment, we are at Chanso, where there is not enough place for our jumbo team to spend the night. Finally, we decided to spend the night in Chanso itself, as the way ahead was more difficult and riskier. Two families had set up their yak camps here and living in 2 tents. Our big team had to divide and accommodate in these 2 tents for the night. We squeezed in for the night anyhow. It's a beautiful morning with bright blue sky, surrounded by tall hills, waterfalls and the whistling Karnali. It was nothing less than a piece of heaven on earth. We mingled with the locals for some times.
गाह्रै छ पानी पनि यहाँ समस्या छ दाउरा पनि समस्या छ यहाँ गाह्रै छ गाह्रो त यस पुल पनि समस्या छ यहाँ नराम्रो ठाउँमा बसेका छन् यहाँ चिसो ठाउँमा यस्तो समस्या छ नि
यहाँ हामीसँग धेरै चुनौतीहरू पनि छ जस्तै एक्सेसको कुरा गर्ने हो भने रोड राम्रो बनिसकेको छैन अनि त्यसपछि तपाईको सञ्चारहरू छैन बाटोमा टी सपहरू छैन त्यसपछि त्यही अनुसार जस्तै टुरिज्म व्यवसायको लागि चाहिएको तपाईको के भन्छ यो के रे ह्युमन रिसोर्सहरू पनि राम्रोसँग दक्ष छैन हैन
We had to climb up to the altitude of 4,800 meters to reach Limi. We decided to travel on horses as we were too tired to walk now. We managed horses for our team and set out on our way. We stopped at a beautiful natural pond, locally known as Selima. No one has dared to measure the depth of this pond till date. No one is aware of the mathematics of this ancient natural lake. We also moved ahead with the enthusiasm as to why. No one knows it. 2 hours on the horseback, we arrived at Nyalul Langna at an altitude of 4,800 meters above sea level. Surrounded by white mountains and hills, we found 2 Chinese trucks ready to leave for Limi. It took some effort to climb onto these huge carriers. Around 100 people had boarded on each truck. The local people were also waiting for the truck to depart like we were. The gravelled road and overloaded trucks. The ride was not very comfortable, but we did not have much option either to move ahead. After around 5 hours rough ride, we arrived at Halji village of Limi. Three villages, Tili, Halji and Jang, were collectively called Limi. It was almost evening by the time we reached Halji. The sight of Karnali snaking between the hills, symmetrical houses, green meadows, and the hearty welcome of the locals relieved of our fatigue. Cattle, farming and trade were the main profession of the denizens of Halji. Yak, growing uwa, a special grain used in making liquor, and traveling to and from Taklakut via Hilsa for trade is part of their life for the locals. Despite the beauty of this magical land, it's far away from tourism. Hardly 50 tourists from outside set their foot on this area every year. The millennium-old Halji monastery, built by Locha Warinche Samo, is the pride of this place. Monk Samo had built this monastery as the last of his 108 structures around the world. Monk Samo is believed to have died while constructing this monastery. The ancient heritage, at the risk of landslide, awaits preservation and promotion.
दायाँको त्यहाँ पहिरोको डर छ यहाँ हैन त्यहाँ बायाँको त्यही डोरीको दुख छ प्रत्येक ढुङ्गाको धेरै दुख छ बिचमा खानु पाउनको पेटको दुख छ यहाँ धेरै आवश्यक छ के छ यहाँ गुम्बा विधानमा त्यही सबै ती पुरानो लिङ्ग मूर्तिकुटी माटोमा लिगेर ती बिग्री जान्छ
We had the opportunity to see the local culture and lifestyle during our trek in Limi. What impressed us the most was the dress, including local bakhu, sonba, chino and quinoa bread. Mount Kailas and the Mansarovar in China are clearly visible from Lapcha of Limi. 7 to 8 hours of truck ride from Halji, we can reach there. We were very much eager to see the Mansarovar and Mount Kailas, so we went to Limi. But to our bad luck, the weather did not help us. We waited for some time for the weather to clear, but there was no sign whatsoever, and we returned disappointed. Had the weather been kind, this was the sight we would have been able to see. Our journey to Limi thus ended on a sad note. We head back to Simikot and Nepalganj and finally to Kathmandu. Back in Kathmandu, every scene and sight we saw on the way is coming back in flashback. Being in this place itself is a treat to the eyes and mind. You forget all the fatigue and physical pain once you reach in this oasis. Undoubtedly, Humla, bordering Mugu, Bachura, Bazan and China towards the north, is a piece of heaven on earth.
and welcome to NTV World Insight. Now, every day millions of people fight invisible battles, moments of quiet panic in a crowd, the weight of grief carried with a smile, the constant noise of self-doubt, or the exhaustion that comes from pretending to be okay. There are struggles with anxiety, depression, trauma, burnout, and even loneliness in a hyper-connected world. And because they are invisible, they are often misunderstood, minimized, or left untreated in silence, in memory, in the spaces between thoughts. Now, our guest today has dedicated his life to understanding those quiet wars. He has spent his life decoding the most complex thing in the universe, not outer space, but inner space. He is a leading neuropsychiatrist, a researcher, a healer, and a voice for mental well-being in Nepal and beyond. From trauma to transformation, his work asks one profound question: how does the human mind find light after darkness? Please welcome Dr. Sudarshan Narsingh Pradhan. Welcome, Dr. Pradhan.
Namaste.
Now, recently, mental health awareness has been the topic in every social media, in news platform, everywhere. But why do people still suffer in silence?
Actually, what is the thing that the people think that this is not an illness. This is the real taboo. And when they are perceiving such type of problem, especially they used to perceive the physical symptoms like palpitation. It's the anxiety case. If you see that anxiety case, what they perceive that they used to have a palpitation, they have a headache, they have a shortness of breath, they have a difficulty in breathing. These are the issues they used to come. And what really problem is, they usually land up in a not to psychiatrist, they go to in a different specialty. Especially when they feel they are having a palpitation, they used to go to cardiologist. And when they are having some buzzing sounds in the air, they used to go to ENT surgeon. So these all are actually the cause of anxiety. And the cause of anxiety, the background, if you see, there must be some stress factors. The stress factor may be different kinds of stress factors. Stress means that the people may have a difficulties in their financial aspect. Maybe they are having a difficulties in domestic problem, maybe difficulties in education problem, especially in the student life. These are the issues which they are not able to tackle and not able to solve.
So and these are trauma responses.
And these are the responses toward the psychological phenomena causing those symptoms. But actually when they get all the checkup, they don't find anything. Like if you do the ECGs and X-rays and the blood parameters, everything will be normal. But they feel that there is no any problem. Actually, this is not the physical illness, but actually it is a psychological illness. That is really causing a really problematic. This is what issues. And in those conditions, what will happen? They will be wandering around with many doctors, many physicians, many other super specialties. But actually, if they could find it out, what is the real problem behind that? Before coming to us, they are landing to in a different specialty. This is really a big issues current in a current scenario.
So what happens when the brain experiences these kind of traumas? Like, is it like a movie, or is it like a scar that stays and burns? How does the brain feel?
No, actually, it's, the scar is not in the outside. The scar, the problem, the misery, the conflict, that was in their mind. I'll give you one example. There is a husband and wife is there, and the husband is alcoholic. And he used to take alcohol day to night, from morning to day, and even the evening time, daily. There is no responsibilities of the homework and nothing. And what the suffering is the wife. Wife used to suffer with it. She have to see all the things, that the households and the children and everything. Right. Even the husband is not earning properly. And with that, beside that, the husband also becoming abusive, and the physical assault, and these are the issues become. And the wife with this handling this type of situation, she used to have a lot of problems with this then, and that's why she will have a lot of insomnia. She is always scared of the husband coming in the home, that she may be feeling that he will beat me, or he will do all the nuisance, and he will make a lot of problems. So what will happen to that lady whose husband is the alcoholic, and that issues are very, very common, especially in our scenario, right. And not only in rural areas, in urban areas also, these issues are very, very common. And with that, you can see that that woman, that's why she will be suffering in a depression, she will having anxiety, and sometimes even the post-traumatic stress disorder. But even her voices become so low, right. That she is not able to go outside and tell that the husband is doing this thing. Right. Even the husband beat her and make a lot of bruises, and she will go to hospital, she will go to other physician and tell that I fell down. She never used to say that my husband beat me. So you see that this type of things happen, and on the background, this the ongoing stress she is perceiving. With that, she will have a lot of this mental issues will become, and she is not able to tackle these things. She becomes lonely. She cannot get any proper help. This is one small scenario, right. That I told you.
So these are the cases of violence and trauma. And there's a saying, when people go through bad experiences, time heals all wounds. But does time really heal the wound that's in your brain, or does the brain just happen to hide it better?
No, actually, time will heal her, but the thing is that if she gets the proper treatment, this is the more important part. They have to be brought to us and then see that what are the reasons. Especially we will find it out, but in my experience I can see that when the patient see that we make her tell her stories. Yes. Initially they don't want to reveal it in detail, because this is really a big issue for her, and she doesn't want to make it. It's become a taboo, it's become a prestigious issue, and that's why she is not coming up. And immediately she will not tell this thing. While talking, gradually what will happen, she started shedding tears, and then after, what is the reason behind that? And she has a lot of traumatic experiences, and she will tell all the things. With shedding tears, she will be telling that these are the issues. And then after, the problem is that after giving some pills, she will not be revealed, she will not be cured. But the problem is the husband, to whom maybe he is having alcoholic and he is having a mental issues also. With that, he need a proper treatment. So you can see that not only one woman getting treatment, but also the causing that the husband becoming alcoholic, that he also need some proper treatment, so that the people both in the family, they will get a proper solution with that. Right.
So Dr. Pradhan, from your experience and expertise, what kind of mental health issues or challenges people come with, and does it differ from age groups, or is it similar to maybe one gender or one community, or is it from a different background?
Oh, there are many more issues that I have been experiencing with this. I can see that I told you that one stigma is attached with this, that, right. And besides that, the violence I have just now told about these things, the domestic violence are very much common, and besides that, the incest and the rape issues to the younger child, especially in rural areas, especially in western part of Nepal. I can see I've been involved in some NGOs, and they are bringing the young children coming from there. These are the issues also, very burning issues with the rape case and on all these domestic violences to the younger children, especially to the young child around 12, 13 years. These are the issues. Even not only that, with this I can see that the post-traumatic stress disorder, anxiety, depression is very, very common. This is also issues that I have been finding. And beside that, the suicide is also another issue that we have been finding out, especially a suicide is an attempted suicide. That it's mostly in the hospital cases. In Nepalese scenario, we can see that attempted suicides are almost each and every day around 50 to 60 persons attempting suicide in a various way. Some people may jump from height, taking a poison, sometimes cuts, injuries. These are the issues that usually come to the emergency department.
Is this because of PTSD, like you said?
One thing is not only the PTSD. I'm talking about not only the PTSD. There is another issues like depression. Depression is also one of the principal cause of attempting suicide, and not only the depression, and also the bipolar illness and the schizophrenia, alcohol abuse, the drug abuse. These all are the issues behind the attempting suicide. This is the thing. These issues are very, very common.
So how do you know if someone needs medication or is just talking enough?
They have to be brought by any visitors, family members, friends, any person who they have to, because they can see that there are some issues with this problem. Maybe having insomnia, maybe having some anxiety issues. The behavior changes. I can say that in one word, their behavior changes, which is not accepted by the society. This is the reason. That means that his or her behavior in the society, which is sometimes not normal. This is totally in a different way. They are talking in a differently. They are behaving in a differently. This attempted suicide is one of the behavior change. Right. Staying almost in a room, a locked room, not interacting with the people, and especially in the children, their academic performance is decreased. So these all are the issues where the mental health will evoke over there, and then we need to see what are the really problems.
Right. So if two people experience the same kind of traumatic experience, and maybe one might develop PTSD, but the other one does not, is it because of upbringing? Is it biology, or is it just mysterious?
No, actually, what is the PTSD is when the diagnostic criteria in the PTSD, what we see is the person used to experience in such a devastating condition where she or he almost used to experience the death issue. Now I am going to die. This type of issues, feeling will occur in that traumatic experience. That may be earthquake, that may be flood, that may be threatening behavior. These all are the issues. Especially you can see that especially war zones like in Gaza and Palestine and in Ukraine, these were war places. In those conditions, you can find these PTSD is very, very common.
Do you think sleep, diet, or even digital platforms, social media, are the reason to anxiety or some symptoms of similar mental disorders?
Well, definitely it is. There's a social media, excessive seeing in a social media, excessive involvement in social media. What will happen that they will be seeing all the violence and everything. Like last time when we have this Gen Z revolution, during that time people used to excessively involve in the social media. They used to see all the burned places, they used to see the all the smokes and all the injuries. With that, they have some triggering factor that they what to do, some dilemma, some anxiety it will provoke definitely. So we do recommend that not to engage longer duration of staying in a social media. I think you need some gap also. Just to see and to get the information is thing. But right now, I think to get the information in the right resources is very important, because nowadays social media, some of the fake news are also very common, and with that fake news the people think that it is really true. So try to understand which one is fake and which one is not, which one is true. So I think to get the information to getting from the real resource places, especially like in the NTV, you can see that you give the real information. Whereas other like these TikTok, these Facebook, these all are the people are putting over there their experiences, which may be the fake also.
So social media does shape how mental health is perceived in today.
Not to everybody, but people who are introvert, people who are very much anxiety-prone personalities, these people are affected by this type of news, which is harmful for them. In those conditions, it's better to avoid social media.
So how would a healthy relationship with social media even look like in this era?
It's not that you go away from that social media also. Nowadays, each and every people is very much aware, very much need, but there must be some limited hour also. It's not that completely every time you are engaging, you are involving in the social media. So there are many more things. It's with this, their intellectual power, their academic power, this all will decrease with that. So it's better if we like to make it some gap and not to engage a lot of time in a social media.
So Dr. Pradhan, we have actually curated a small video for you. We asked the general public, what does mental health mean to them?
डाक्टरहरुको सरसल्लाह तपाईको युट्युबहरुमा समाचारमा स्वास्थ्यको धेरै जति पनि नराम्रो छ भने पनि राम्रो कुरा पनि धेरै युट्युबहरुमा देखिन्छ। अब प्राय बच्चाहरुले चाहिँ त्यतातिर ध्यान दिनुहुन्न अनि घरमा पनि अब त्यही वातावरण चाहिँ बाबुआमाले पनि त्यस्तो स्वास्थ्यपट्टि चाहिँ अलिकति बुझ्नु भयो भने बच्चाहरुलाई त्यही हिसाबमा आफू सरै ल्याउनु भयो भने त्यो हिसाबमा बच्चा चल्न सक्छ।
फिलिङ्सहरु सप्रेस गर्ने, इमोसनल सप्रेस गर्ने अनि आफू चाहिँ डिप्रेसनमा जाने जस्तो सिचुएसनहरु पनि आउँछ। अहिले हामीले प्राय देखिरहेको छौं डिप्रेसनमा गएर मान्छेहरुले सुसाइडल केसहरु कति धेरै गरिरा हुन्छ है। यो भनेको चाहिँ एउटा मेन्टल काउन्सिलिङ भनेको चाहिँ त्यही भएर म चाहिँ एउटा प्रिभेन्टिभ मेजर जस्तो पनि हो जस्तो लाग्छ। जनरल पब्लिकहरुको लागि पनि कति कुराहरुमा चाहिँ हामीलाई थाहा हुँदैन, हामी मेन्टली इल भइरा हुन्छौं तर पनि वी आर नट अवेयर कि हामी चाहिँ एउटा सिकनेसको जर्नीमा गइरहेको हुन्छ।
बोट बिरुवामा खेल्दै गयो भने त्यहाँ झार उम्रा हुन्छ, त्यसलाई कसैलाई पानी भएको हुँदैन, कसैलाई तपाईको मल पुगा हुँदैन, कोहीलाई रोग लाग्यो हुन्छ। त्यो हाम्रो दिमाग डाइभर्ट भएपछि त त्यो मान्छेले त्यो हेल्थलाई एकदम कन्सियस गरेर काम गर्न सक्यो के, त्यसपछि उसको हेल्थलाई त उसले अटोमेटिकै सपोर्ट गर्ने भयो नि त। त्यो हिसाबले नै मेन्टल हेल्थको लागि चाहिँ अति आवश्यकै जस्तो लाग्छ।
अहिलेको मेन्टल हेल्थको बारेमा चाहिँ जस्तै नेपालमा चाहिँ मोबाइल कम्प्युटरहरू चाहिँ एकदम चलाएको देखिन्छ यङ जेनेरेसनमा चाहिँ। त्यो भएको हुनाले चाहिँ लाइक टिकटक एसएनएस चाहिँ धेरै चलाएको हुन्छ। त्यो भएको हुनाले जस्तै स्क्रोल टाइमिङ चाहिँ धेरै नै हुन्छ यो यङ जेनेरेसनमा चाहिँ। त्यो भएको हुनाले इनफ स्लिप चाहिँ हुँदैन, लाइक न्युट्रिसन फुडमा पनि ध्यान दिएको हुँदैन किनकि टाइम स्पेन्ड धेरै भएको हुनाले चाहिँ यसमा चाहिँ कन्ट्रोल गर्न पर्ने देखिन्छ।
Parents have to be very much careful about what the children are doing. Especially the children are also they are very much fond of these in social media, mostly engaging all those things. But what we do is that the parents also used to see in social media, and the same thing the children used to copy what the parents are doing. So what we do suggest that the parents also stop looking after these things, give some time and play with the children. That is the main technique to avoid the social media. You start talking with your children, play with them, indoor games or outdoor games, or go around somewhere places that are looking at good places. So these are the issues to avoid social media, and then it will be better one. So what they do, especially they both start saying the children used to copy the parents. To avoid those things, play with them, so stay with them, eat together, stay together, relax together with the children. It's very important part. This is how we have to teach the children to engage in social activities, not the social media and a mobile phone.
So Dr. Pradhan is actually a former president of SARC Psychiatric Association as well. So we talk about mental health these days a lot more than a decade ago. But is mental health accessible to everyone, or is it just people who can afford it talk about it?
That's a very good question you asked about this thing. Actually, mental health is that what we have to do is it should be accessible to everybody. But the thing is that not only accessible, right now the scenario is they are not understanding what is mental illness. What they feel that mental health is only to the insane people who used to have it, the problem, and then this is the mental health. Not like that. Mental health issues is how their intellectual abilities, how their social activities, how their interacting with the other people, how is their memory capacity. These all are the issues together to see the mental health awareness, mental health issues that we have to see. And with that, we can see what are the real problems. Especially that when any issues like in schizophrenia, in bipolar affective disorder, what they will have, there are the different perceptual disturbances, mood disturbances, these things will occur. With that, totally different scenario will occur.
So do you think therapy and psychiatry in Nepal and other countries like Nepal, is mental health seen as a luxury or actually a necessity?
Oh no, it's not luxury. We can't say that like that. But actually, this is really awareness is very important. What we are doing right now, each and every last time we have the 10th October is the mental health issue day, and the 10th September is the suicide prevention day. These all the issues these days are that we are providing such type of awareness programs are very much there. But beside that, still this is not effective. Still this is not accessible to the general public. They feel in a different way that this is the thing. So in those conditions, especially we need to go to school and school areas around 9 or 10 school children to educate about the mental health. What is really problem? Especially in those areas, they used to indulge in cigarette smoking or maybe these tablet taking behaviors. These are also another problem and challenging to them. So in those conditions, we need a greater awareness program in school programs also. And beside that, and this is also one of the programs, this is also awareness program, so that the people can understand what really the mental health and how we can go ahead and how we can understand the mental health. This is the thing. Mental health, it doesn't mean that one person is totally insane and we see those things. That how you are working here, because you are we are a mentally healthy person. That's why you can work in these conditions. If any challenges you have, you solve those problems with your own intellectual capacity. This is what the mental issues, mental health issues, that you are mentally aware and you are mentally well-being, that shows that any problem you can solve. This is how we go ahead, because we can see that not only all the people are mentally ill.
So for people who are fighting these silent battles in their own head, what message would you like to give them?
To the general public, give love and affection to your mentally ill people, and this is their right to get the treatment also. They have their right. So if any person who used to see such type of problem, please do bring to us, then definitely they will be cared. And especially to the rural areas, don't make it in a prison, and don't make it in a bounded in a room, a locked room. So they have to come out. Their right to get the treatment. This is what the message have to go.
Thank you so much for joining us today in NTV Insights. That was a very insightful conversation with Dr. Pradhan. Now, for in-depth stories and analysis, do follow our website, www.ntvworld.com, and do follow us on YouTube channel NTV World and social media handle as well. Until next time, see you.
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World. Taste of Nepal. Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands.
Reporting for Public Service Broadcasting.
Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
Bahadur Tamang, a gifted Thangka artist from the spiritual heart of Bodha, has turned his craft into a global bridge between tradition and business.
Thangka चाहिँ मैले 1976 मा सुरुवात गरेको. मेरो टिचर चाहिँ म भन्दा अघिल्लो मेरो दाइ हो, साइला दाइ. मेरो चाहिँ बाउपादेखि नै कलाकार हुनुहुन्थ्यो. पाटन, भक्तपुर, छामेल, दरबार स्क्वायरमा यसै पसल बेच्ने काम हुन्थ्यो. त्यो बेच्दा मैले यो थाङ्गा चाहिँ विदेशीले किन्दो रहेछ, आफैले विदेशसँग बेच्नुपर्छ भन्ने अलिकति मनमा मलाई अलिकति सोच आयो. त्यसपछि मैले 2050 सालमा यहाँ सुरु गरेँ, आजभन्दा 32 वर्ष अगाडि.
What began as a young artist's journey through the streets of Kathmandu has blossomed into a thriving enterprise where sacred art meets business and tourism. With every brushstroke, home brings Nepal's rich spiritual heritage to the world, transforming Thangka painting into a symbol of cultural fusion.
त्यो बेला चाहिँ पसल कोही पनि यहाँ थिएन, किनभने त्यो मार्केटले चाहिँ कहाँ मार्केट हुन्छ भन्ने खोज्दो रहेछ. त्यो खोज्ने क्रममा म यहाँ आइपुग्यो. विदेशीहरू पनि यहाँ त्यति अहिले जस्तो बस्दैन, 5 मिनेट 10 मिनेटमा घुमेर जानुहुन्थ्यो. त्यतिखेर खाने रेस्टुरेन्ट पनि एकजना मात्रै थियो, एउटा मात्रै थियो. अहिले चाहिँ होस् त्यो बेला र अहिलेमा धेरै आकाश जमिनको फरक भएको छ.
His story is one of passion, innovation, and a deep commitment to preserving tradition while embracing the future.
विशेष गरी यो बौद्ध स्तूपसँग रिलेटेड छ. यो बुद्धको शिक्षासँग रिलेटेड यो थाङ्का चाहिँ संसारको मानिसहरू यो स्तूपलाई घुम्ने क्रममा यो प्रार्थना गर्ने मेन आउने ठाउँ चाहिँ यो रहेछ। त्यसो भएको हुनाले यो चाहिँ विशेष गरी ओल्ड हेरिटेज साइटमा चाहिँ त्यो पनि के हो बुद्धिस्टको भएको हुनाले चाहिँ नेपालभरिको नै थाङ्का बिक्ने ठाउँ चाहिँ अति महत्त्वपूर्ण चाहिँ यो नै हो वास्तवमा, किनभने रिलेटेड छ यो बुद्धसँग।
From the hills of Ramechhap to the heart of Bodha, Kom Bahadur Damang has a glorious story to tell. A story of will, determination, struggle and success.
म आफै पनि रामेछाप दुर्गम जिल्लामा जन्मेको चाहिँ नि रोजगार छैन, त्यहाँ स्कुल छैन, कलेज छैन, हस्पिटल छैन, रोजगार छैन। त्यसपछि म पनि रोजगारकै क्रममा यहाँ आएर मैले सुरुवात गर्यो। अहिले चाहिँ म लगभग 49 वर्ष भयो यही पेसा गरेर दाल भात खाएको। अब नयाँ पुस्तालाई पनि मैले हस्तान्तरण गर्नुपर्छ है भन्ने मेरो एउटा उद्देश्यले चाहिँ अहिले मैले नयाँ पुस्तालाई चाहिँ गाउँबाट आउनुहुन्छ, स्कुल सकेर अनि बिहान चाहिँ कलेज जानुहुन्छ, दिउँसो काम छैन। त्यस कारणले मैले 3 महिना फ्री ट्रेनिङ दिने गरेको छ। उहाँको स्किल अन्त टेस्ट गरेर हामीले यहीँ तलब दिएर जस्तो बिहान कलेज पनि भ्यायो उसको कति हावर त्यसो त्यहाँबाट एक्स्ट्रा टाइम चाहिँ 5 घण्टा 6 घण्टा 7 घण्टा पनि यहाँ जीवन चलाउने चाहिँ काम भइरहेको छ अहिले।
For 49 years, he painted, taught and empowered young artisans. Today, his school preserves tradition and creates futures.
हामीले यहाँ सुरुमा इन्टरभ्यू लिन्छु, त्यसपछि 1 हप्ता चाहिँ नि सानो र क्यानभासमा हात ट्रेनिङ दिन्छु, त्यसको शरीरको बडीहरू अलिकति ट्रेनिङ दिन्छु अनि 1 हप्तापछि ओके भनेर ओके या यस भने कोही मानिस नसक्ने चाहिँ नि आधा घण्टामा 1 घण्टामा उठेर गइहाल्छ। म सक्दैन, ढाड दुख्यो, किन उसको मन धेरै भएर गयो, त्यो सक्दैन, ऊ आउँदैन, एक दिन पनि आउँदैन। मात्रै आँखा चाहिँ हुनु पर्यो। हामीले अपाङ्गलाई पनि सिकाएको छ, जस्तो बाहिर कान नसुन्ने पनि सिकाएको छ, आँखा चाहिँ हुनु पर्यो, त्यस्तै हो।
As interest in Buddhism grows worldwide, so does the appreciation for our sacred art. Foreigners now come not just to admire but to learn, studying our architecture techniques and meditative Thanka traditions, giving new life to what was once known only within our borders.
बुद्धिज्म नेपाल हो। नेपालमा जति छन् विश्व सम्पदामा सूचीमा भएको मठ मन्दिर गुम्बद छ, यसैबाट उहाँले पनि सिकेको वास्तवमा। यो जुन बौद्ध स्तूपरा भनौँ लुम्बिनी त्यो जस्तो त उहाँहरूले बनाउन सक्दैन, तर यसको चाहिँ एकदम महत्त्वपूर्ण के छ भगवान या चाहिँ दोस्रो तेस्रो बुद्धको रिलेटिभ यहाँ छ। जति चाहिँ अहिले संसारमा यो बुद्धिज्म फैलिँदै जान्छ, यो महायान बुद्धिज्म त्यत्तिकै ठाङ्गको भ्यालु चाहिँ बढ्दैछ अहिले। जस्तो मेरै कुराहरू मैले 40-45 वर्ष यति ठाङ्गको महत्त्व थिएन, किनभने वर्ल्ड वाइडमा बुद्धिज्ममा थिएन, विदेशीहरूले जानेकै थिएन। उनीहरूले त्यो सुरसुर आउँदाखेरि सानो एउटा नेपाल आउँदाखेरि सुपर नेट किन नलैजाऊ भन्ने मात्रै लाइन थियो। अहिले चाहिँ उहाँहरू चाहिँ जस्तो अमेरिका, युरोप, तपाईँको यो सिङ्गापुर, ताइवान, मलेसिया विभिन्न देशमा चाहिँ अहिले बुद्धिस्ट प्र्याक्टिसनर धेरै उहाँहरू चाहिँ गर्नुहुन्छ। त्यसको लागि चाहिँ एकदमै महत्त्वपूर्ण छ। त्यस कारणले भविष्यमा यो थाङ्गा चाहिँ छ, यसको मार्केट छ।
As an artist, entrepreneur and a master, he feels fulfilled, creating beauty, guiding others and living with purpose.
मैले संसार जीवन जगतलाई थाहा पायो। अहिले हामी सांसारिक जीवन छ, सांसारिक जीवनमा कसरी जिउने र अर्कोलाई पनि कसरी जिउन दिने कला थाहा पायो। त्यसपछि अब जुन देशमा जन्मे पनि जुन कुलमा जन्मे पनि 100% निश्चित के हो भने मृत्यु छ। त्यो त निश्चित हो नि, एउटै निश्चित छैन, कहिले पनि निश्चित छैन। तर त्यो मर्नेमा म कसरी मर्ने भन्ने कला पनि थाहा पाएँ मैले। मलाई त धेरै परिवर्तन भएको छ। मैले परिवर्तन भयो भने के हुन्छ, मैले ठुलो पचेरो चढेर ठुलो गाडी त्यस्तो होइन, तर मलाई खुसी छ। सादा दाल भात खान पाएछ, मैले परिवार पाल्नु पाएछ। यही थाङ्गाले म जापान घुम्यो, युरोप गयो, चाइना घुम्यो, बुद्धिस्ट कन्ट्री सबै घुमेको छ। सबै ठाउँमा मैले घुम्नलाई मलाई पैसा आपत पनि परेन। थाङ्गा सँगसँगै लाँदै बिर्बिङ गर्दै बेच्दै दर्शन बेचेको हो। त्यस कारण मलाई त एकदम खुसी छु म त पनि।
They say that life is all connected, even the most remote of animals and humans all rose from this earth. But after years of life on land and sea, have we thought about how far these connections sustain? Deep within Sri Lanka lies Udavalava, nestled nearly 200 kilometers away from the bustling capital city of Colombo. Born out of the need for agriculture, the Udavalava Reservoir in the 1960s paved the way for elephants to find refuge in the area. The town of Udavalava is an extraordinary tapestry of society where the vibrant synergy of locals and wildlife flourishes. A town where a national park, agricultural land, an elephant transit home, and a community all exist in their harmony. As the sun rises over the serene Udavalava National Park, the people who call this place home embrace a livelihood intricately woven with nature's splendor. Resources are shared among the people of Udavalava and elephants alike. They thrive by building and trading monuments of culture around the world of elephants.
Today in the morning we make the safari, like 4 hours on the jeep, and it was actually really nice. We saw some elephants. We really enjoyed.
Among the cherished traditions in Sri Lanka, passed down through generations, is the awe-inspiring Gajaga Vannama, a mesmerizing dance performance that showcases the elegant spirit of elephants, honoring their grace and power in Sri Lankan heritage. This is the elephant transit home called At Athuru Sevana, a haven that serves as a refuge for orphaned, injured and malnourished elephants. This is where we found the enchanting tale of Namal.
අපේ දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවේ නිලධාරීන්ට හම්බෙලා තියෙන අම්පාර නාමල්ලෝය කියන ප්‍රදේශයේදී වැලක පැටලිලා තුවාල වෙලා ඉන්න පොඩි පැටියෙක් තමයි හම්බෙලා තියෙන කකුලේ ආබාධයෙන් හින්දා උඩවල ඇත්තතුරු සෙවණට ගෙනල්ලා මෙයාව අර කකුලේ තුවාලේ වැඩි වෙන හින්දා මෙයාගේ ජීවිතේ බේර ගන්න තමයි මේ කකුල කපලා අයින් කරලා මෙයාට මේ කෘත්‍රිම කකුලක් හදලා දාලා උඩවල ඇත්තතුරු සෙවණේ බලාගන්න. අවුරුදු 13ක වයස වගේ ටිකක් වෙනස් සතෙක් මෙයා ටිකක් අර සැරයි. ටිකක් සාමාන්‍ය අනිත් අයට වගේ එහෙම කිට්ටු වෙන්න අමාරු. උරු වෙච්ච එක්කෙනෙකුට දෙන්නෙකුට වගේ තමයි මෙයත් එක්ක ගනුදෙනු කරන්න පුළුවන්. දොවලව මේ ආශ්‍රිත ප්‍රදේශයට ලොකු සම්පතක්. මොකද මේ වගේ සතෙක් මුළු ලෝකේ කොහෙවත් නැහැ. මොන ජීවිත අවදානම හරි මොන දේ තිබ්බත් අර ගොඩක් මම කැමති මේ සතාව බලා ගන්න. මොකද මේ එහෙම කවුරුත් නැතුව ගියොත් මේ සතා තවත් අසරණ වෙනවනේ.
Like Namal, all these gentle giants receive the loving care and attention they so desperately need at this elephant transit home located close to the national park. While Namal flourishes under the watchful eyes of his caretakers, not too far away from the park, the battle for resources between elephants and humans looms.
වයින් නැති කාලෙට ඒ කියන්නේ පැවුම් කාලේට අනිවාර්යෙන්ම එනවා වැඩි. ඒ වෙනකොට උන්ටක් කන්න දෙයක් නැහැ. ඉතින් උනුත් මේවට එනවා. කියන්නේ අපි ඉතින් එලවනවා. ඉතින් කරදරයක් වෙන්නේ නැහැ දැනුවත් වෙනා. උන්ටත් ඉතින් අපි තුන් එලවනවා. තුන් වෙනවා. ඉතින් වගාවල පයින්නවා. දිගටම ඒක තමයි ඉතින් වෙන්නේ. 6 වෙනකොට 6 7 වෙනකොට අනිවාර්යෙන් බහිනෝමයි යලි මේවට. පටු හිටවනවා. කෙසෙල් ඔක්කොම ඉතින් කඩා කප්පල් වල දාලා උන්ගේ කැලේ වුණාට ඉතින් අපි ගොවිතැනක් කරගන්න මේකට ආයේ. ගොවිතැන් බතක් කරගෙන ඉතින් අපි ඉන්නෝට ඉතින් තරහයි ඉතින් මොන කරන්නද? අලියා! අලියා!
In the face of these challenges, the transit home provided a glimmer of hope. The generous support and compassion of humans offered a lifeline to these magnificent beings.
ඇත්තතු සෙවන කියන එකේ තේමාවම ගත්තොත් යලිත් සියනේ ජිබිම් කරා පාන ගන්න කියන තේමාවට තමයි මේක ආරම්භ වුනේ. විශේෂයෙන් මානව ක්‍රියාකාරකම් සහ විවිධ ස්වභාවික සංසිද්ධීන් අනුව අවතැන් වෙන තුවාල වුණු අතරමං වුණු සත්තු අලිපැටව විශේෂයෙන් පුනරුත්ථාපනය කරන මධ්‍යස්ථානයක්. ඒගොල්ලෝ යම්කිසි කාලයක් මේගොල්ලන්ගේ පෝෂණය, සෞඛ්‍ය විවිධ සමාජීය කටයුතු කරලා මේගොල්ලෝ නිසි වයස එළඹුණාන් පස්සේ මේගොල්ලෝ නැවත ඒගොල්ලන්ගේ නිජ බිම් වලට ස්වභාවික පරිසරයට නිදහස් කිරීම තමයි මෙතන වෙන මූලික සංකල්පය.
Current societal changes, the cultural changes and the development changes has resulted in what we hear and the way we see things today in the present. Today the tourists come to see elephants in captive locations like Udawalawe. Now these relationships and these things being successful in Sri Lanka is because of development, and yet there is this feeling of sustainability in nature that Sri Lankan has, and therefore we feel the elephant as still part of our naturalness.
People help these gentle giants by fostering and even donating milk to the little elephants that find their way to this second home, ensuring that they are nurtured before joining the wilderness once again.
This is the first time, so the baby elephants are so cute.
Yes.
So cute, so many. I like elephants because they're very cute, and we don't have elephants at home.
ජීවිතේ ප්‍රථම වතාවට තමයි මේ වගේ අත්දැකීමක් විඳින්න හම්බුනේ. ඒක තහඳ සුන්දර අත්දැකීමක්. මේ වගේ අලි කුඩා අලි පැටව දකින්න ලැබුණේ නම් ප්‍රථම වතාවට මෙහෙම ඒගොල්ලෝ කිරි බනවා, කෑම කනවා දකින්න ලැබිච්ච එක ඉතින් සුන්දර අත්දැකීමක් විඳින්න හම්බුණා.
The opportunities to see the wild animals and to be with nature and to be in nature is amazing. Absolutely amazing.
උඩවලවේ අලියා ඉන්න නිසා තමයි මේ හැම දෙයක්ම අපට ලැබිලා තියෙන්නේ. විශේෂයෙන්ම අලියා අපි කියනවා කීස්ටෝන් එකක්. එහෙම නැත්නම් එයා යතුරක්. ඒක ජාතික වනෝද්‍යානය තුළ සංරක්ෂිත භූමියේ විතරක් නෙමෙයි අලියා යතුරු පෝරුවක් වෙන්නේ. අලියා සංරක්ෂිත ප්‍රදේශයෙන් පිට පරිබාහිර මේ ගම්මාන වලටත් මේ අලියා යතුරු පෝරුවක් වෙනවා. මොකද මේ යතුරු කරල්ලේ ප්‍රධාන යතුරු නැති වුණොත් මේ ගම වැටෙන්න පුළුවන්. විශේෂයෙන්ම ඍජු හා වක්‍ර රැකියාවල් 10000කට ආසන්න ප්‍රමාණයක් මේ වෙද්දී උඩවලව ආශ්‍රිතව උඩවලව ජාතික වනෝද්‍යානය ආශ්‍රිතව සංචාරක කර්මාන්තයට දායක වෙනවා.
And amidst the serene landscapes of the Udawalawa National Park, tourism flourishes. Visitors from around the world are welcomed to witness the grandeur of elephants in their natural habitat, forging a profound and everlasting connection with nature and Sri Lanka. Yet, the true essence of sustainability lies beyond the surface, entwined with the very existence of these gentle giants.
The national park's incredible. So many elephants. We saw the baby orphans this morning as well, which was amazing. Really, really cool. Yeah, just so much to see.
The prosperity of the people relies on the delicate balance created by the coexistence of humans and elephants. As the sun sets over the enchanting landscapes of Udawalawa, the resounding rhythm of the gentle giants prevails.
My first time, and it's like magnificent. These animals are so beautiful. Like crazy. We've seen hundreds of elephants.
The timeless tales of these elephants stand as a subtle reminder of how people and the gentle beasts alike can walk together. It symbolizes the power of sustainable tourism in Sri Lanka. It symbolizes the power of togetherness.
जानकी मन्दिर महर्षि जनकको पुण्य भूमि, माता जानकीको पवित्र जन्मस्थल। देश विदेशमा परिचित जनकपुर धाम मध्य प्रदेशको मात्र नभई अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय स्तरमै प्रख्यात पवित्र भूमि। सबैको पूजनीय ठाउँ जनकपुर धाम। महेन्द्र राजमार्गको ढल्केबरबाट करिब 21 किलोमिटर दक्षिण लागेपछि शहीद गेट हुँदै रामानन्द चोक पुग्न सकिन्छ। जनकपुरको ठूलो प्रवेशद्वार रामानन्द प्रवेशद्वार। 4वटा ठूलो पिलरमा बनाइएको रामानन्द प्रवेशद्वारको माथि स्वामी रामानन्दको प्रतिमा छ। यो प्रवेशद्वारलाई जनकपुरवासीले जनकपुरको गौरव समेत मान्ने गरेका छन्। रामानन्द चोकबाट करिब 1 किलोमिटर पूर्व गएपछि मिथिलाञ्चलवासीको सांस्कृतिक धरोहर जानकी मन्दिर पुग्न सकिन्छ। मध्य प्रदेशको राजधानी जनकपुरमा अवस्थित यो मन्दिर नेपालमा भएका मन्दिरहरूमध्ये क्षेत्रफलका आधारमा सबैभन्दा ठूलो मन्दिर हो। मन्दिर निर्माणको 100 वर्ष जति मात्र भए पनि यसमा स्थापित राम जानकीको प्रतिमा भने झण्डै 700 वर्ष पुरानो भएको संस्कृतिविदहरूको भनाइ छ।
20औं शताब्दीको प्रारम्भमा भनौं त्यति बेला एकजना के रे मध्य प्रदेशको ओर्छा स्टेट छ, त्यहाँ त्यसको राजधानी टिकमगढ छ। त्यहाँकी रानीले आएर अहिलेको जानकी मन्दिरको जुन ढाँचा अहिले देखिएको छ, जो देशमा सबैभन्दा ठुलो ढाँचा मन्दिरको रूपमा एउटा छ, त्यो राजस्थानी शैली र मुगल शैली दुईटीको मिश्रित रूपमा यहाँ बनाइदिएको हो त्यो मन्दिर। त्यसपछि यहाँ विकास भएको हो।
विक्रम सम्वत 1968 सालमा निर्माण सम्पन्न भएको यो मन्दिर धार्मिक र सांस्कृतिक हिसाबले सम्पन्न मैथिली सभ्यताको धरोहर हो। पवित्र हिन्दू धर्मस्थलको रूपमा चिनिने जानकी मन्दिर मुगल शैलीमा निर्माण गरिएको छ। पाँच 500 वर्ष पुरानो इतिहास बोकेको यो मन्दिर 4860 वर्ग फिटमा फैलिएको छ भने 50 फिट अग्लो रहेको छ। नेपालको ख्याति प्राप्त यो मन्दिरलाई कलाको उत्कृष्ट नमुना मान्न सकिन्छ। प्राचीन मिथिलाको राजधानी जनकपुरमा अवस्थित जानकी मन्दिर विश्वभरका हिन्दूहरूको आस्थाको केन्द्रबिन्दु हो। यो मन्दिर भारत मध्य प्रदेश स्थित टिकमगढकी राजकुमारी वृषभानुकुमारीले 9 लाख चाँदीका असर्फी खर्च गरेर निर्माण गरिएको हो भन्ने किम्वदन्ती छ। त्यसैले यो मन्दिरलाई 9 लाखा मन्दिर पनि भन्ने गरिन्छ।
यसको खर्चमा 9 लाख रुपियाँ खर्च भएको थियो। त्यो बेलाको शासनमा 1910 तिरको 9 लाख भन्दाखेरि त अहिले त अर्बौं खर्बौंमा जान्छ। अनि त्यो खर्च भएको हुनाले यसलाई 9 लाख भनिएको हो कि भन्ने बुझिन्छ।
प्राचीन मिथिला हिन्दू तथा मुस्लिम कलाको समुचित समायोजनबाट निर्मित जानकी मन्दिर कलाकृतिले समेत भरिपूर्ण ठाउँ हो। सीताको जन्मभूमि र राम सीताको विवाह भएको पुण्यभूमि भएकाले पनि यो ठाउँ सबैको आस्थाको केन्द्र बनेको छ।
सीतामढ़ी से हम लोग जनकपुर धाम पर आए हैं। माँ जानकी का यह पालन स्थल है। जन्म स्थल पुनौरा भूमि हुआ। वहाँ से राजा जनक जी पुनौरा धाम से माँ जानकी को यहाँ अपने दरबार में अपना यहाँ उनका साम्राज्य था। उस साम्राज्य में अपना यहाँ उनका लालन पालन हुआ है और काफ़ी धार्मिक आस्था है। जगत जननी माँ सीता का यह लालन पालन का स्थल है और हम लोग इसी आस्था से माँ जानकी के आशीर्वाद लेने हेतु यहाँ पर पहुँचे हुए।
धार्मिक तथा सांस्कृतिक रूपमा सम्पन्न यो मन्दिर मिथिलाञ्चलवासीको सांस्कृतिक धरोहरको रूपमा रहेको छ। मैथिली सभ्यताको प्रतीकको रूपमा रहेको यो मन्दिरमा श्रद्धा एवं निष्ठापूर्वक पूजाआजा गरे मनको शान्ति मिल्नुका साथै मनोकामना पूरा हुने जनविश्वास छ।
यहाँ पे हम जानते हैं कि सीता माता का जन्म स्थान है यहाँ पे, तो हम यहाँ हम राम और कृष्णा दोनों एक मानते हैं। तो हम राम जी के बारे में और जानकी के बारे में ज़्यादा जानना चाहते हैं, जानकी माता के बारे में, इसीलिए यहाँ आए, उनका जन्म स्थान देखना चाहते हैं।
यहाँ आएपछि त भित्री आत्मादेखि असाध्य खुसी लाग्छ क्या। जति जे हाम्रो मनभित्र हुन्छ नि, बाहिर कतै हुँदाखेरि हामीभित्र जुन मनमा चलिरहेको हुन्छ नि, यहाँ आएपछि त बेग्लै महसुस भइरहेको हुन्छ क्या। त्यस्तो हुन्छ।
ऐतिहासिक, धार्मिक तथा पर्यटकीय क्षेत्रको रूपमा रहेको यो मन्दिरभित्र पर्यटकलाई लोभ्याउने कलाकृति र सौन्दर्यताकै कारण यहाँ देश विदेशबाट हजारौंको संख्यामा दर्शनार्थीहरूको भीड़ लाग्ने गर्दछ। यहाँको कला कौशलताले सजी सजाऊ मन्दिरसँगै वरिपरि रहेको हरियाली वातावरणले पर्यटकहरूलाई थप आकर्षित गर्नुका साथै ऊर्जा समेत प्रदान गर्ने गर्दछ।
बहुत दिनों की इच्छा थी कि मैं माता के स्थान पे आऊं, है ना, और आने का मुझे सौभाग्य हुआ और मुझे बहुत ही दिल से खुशी हो रही है कि मुझे इनका दर्शन हुआ। और जिस तरह से यहाँ पे संरक्षण किया गया है, इससे मुझे बहुत ही संतुष्टि हो रही है और सभी का बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद। और मैं भगवान का आभार प्रकट करती हूँ कि मुझे दर्शन का सौभाग्य मिला।
जानकी मन्दिर छेउमा रहेको भगवान सीतारामको विवाह मण्डप स्थल, जानकी मन्दिरको उत्तरतर्फ रहेको राम जानकी विवाह मण्डप जनकपुर धामको अर्को धार्मिक एवं दर्शनीय स्थल हो। श्रीराम जानकी विवाह मण्डपको चारैतिर पारदर्शी सिसा लगाइएकाले वरिपरि रहेका सम्पूर्ण देवताहरूको दर्शन बाहिरबाटै गर्न सकिन्छ। सीतारामका भव्य मूर्तिहरू, मध्यभागमा देवीका मूर्तिहरू राखिएका छन्। गर्भ मण्डपभित्र कलात्मक स्तम्भहरू छन्। यी स्तम्भहरूमा विभिन्न देवी देवताहरूका 4-4 वटाका दरले मूर्तिहरू जोडेर राखिएका छन्। मण्डपको माथि शिरमा रहेको गजुरले यसको रौनकतालाई अझै बढाएको छ। यहाँ विवाह पञ्चमीमा भारत अयोध्याबाट लाखौं मानिसहरू जन्ती बनेर आउने गर्दछन्। जानकी मन्दिर, राम मन्दिर लगायतका मठ मन्दिरहरूबाट बाजागाजा सहित निस्किने झाँकी नगरको विभिन्न भागको परिक्रमा गर्दै ऐतिहासिक रंगभूमि 12 बिघा मैदानमा पुगी राम र जानकीको स्वयंवर हुने गर्दछ। विवाह पञ्चमीको अवसरमा जानकी मन्दिर, राम मन्दिर, जनक मन्दिर, विवाह मण्डप, शिव मन्दिर लगायतका मठ मन्दिरहरूमा बिहानैदेखि साधु सन्त, भक्तजन र दर्शनार्थीहरूको घुइँचो लाग्ने गर्दछ। विवाह पञ्चमी मेला भर्न नेपालका विभिन्न स्थानका साथै भारतबाट समेत भक्तजनहरू जनकपुर धाम आउने गर्दछन्।
विवाह पञ्चमी यहाँको सबभन्दा ठुलो महत्त्वपूर्ण पर्व हो। उसमा चाहिँ बढी भिड हुन्छ। सबैतिरबाट मान्छे आउँछ। अयोध्याबाट जयन्ती आउँछ। लोकल मान्छेको पनि भिड हुन्छ। विवाह पञ्चमी ठुलो मेला हुन्छ यहाँको। हुन त सबै महिनामा छ। अब यो साउनमा यो असारको पूर्णिमा गुरु पूजा हुन्छ, उसमा पनि लाग्छ। श्रावणमा झुला हुन्छ नि, हरियाली तीज भन्छ, झुल्ने प्रक्रिया छ, त्यो पनि हुन्छ। भदौमा चाहिँ जन्माष्टमी हुन्छ। यस्तै आश्विनमा दुर्गा पूजा, कार्तिकमा अन्नकुट दिवालीहरू हुन्छ। अनि फेरि मङ्सिरमा विवाह पञ्चमी हुन्छ। यसो फाल्गुनमा परिक्रमा हुन्छ 15 दिनको। चैतमा रामनवमी हुन्छ। वैशाखमा जानकी नवमी हुन्छ। सबै महिनामा केही न केही पर्व भइरहन्छ।
जनकपुर धामको पौराणिकतालाई दर्शाउने मणि मण्डप। भगवान राम र माता सीताको विवाह भएको स्थलको रूपमा ख्याति प्राप्त मणि मण्डप पुरातात्विक दृष्टिले अति नै प्राचीन मानिन्छ। यो मण्डपले मिथिला सभ्यताको प्राचीनतालाई समेत दर्शाउँदछ।
यो तपाईको त्रेता युगमा जुन समयमा भगवान रामको बिहे भएको थियो नि, त्यो बेलाको यो मण्डप हो। या यो भूमि छ नि, जुन माटो छ नि, हाम्रो पूर्वजले यो माटोलाई नै पूजा गरेको थियो पहिला। अहिले तपाईको त्यो बाँसको झोपडी बनाएर पूजा गर्दै आइरहेको थियो। त्यसपछि यो तपाईको 2007 मा इन्डियाको डेटमा जयपुरको आन्सर यो बना।
जनकपुरबाट करिब 17 किलोमिटर उत्तरमा धनुषा धाम रहेको छ। राजा जनकले आफ्नी छोरी सीताका लागि आयोजना गरेको स्वयंवरमा भगवान रामले तोडेको शिवजीको धनुषको 3 टुक्रा मध्ये 1 टुक्रा यही झरेको थियो भन्ने मान्यता छ। यही स्थानमा अहिले धनुष मन्दिर समेत रहेको छ। जानकी मन्दिर दर्शन गर्ने जो कोही धनुषा धाम पुग्ने गर्दछन्। जानकी मन्दिर पुग्ने भक्तजनहरूले धनुषा धामको दर्शन नगरे दर्शन पूरा नहुने महन्तहरू बताउनुहुन्छ।
सीता र रामजीको बीचमा एउटा जुन वैवाहिक बन्धन भएछ त्यसको प्रतीक रूपमा त्यो धनुष हो। स्वयं भगवानको हातबाट भाँचिएको र स्वयं परशुराम पनि एउटा भगवानको अवतारले चाहिँ त्यो धनुष शिवजीको धनुष जनकले दिएको हुनाले त्यसको महात्म्य हेर्ने हो भने रामेश्वरम चाहिँ पछि स्थापना गर्नुभएछ भगवान रामले। त्यो धनुष चाहिँ आफ्नो हातबाट त्योभन्दा पहिला स्थापना गर्नुभएको हुनाले त्यो पनि एउटा दर्शनको ठुलो महत्त्वपूर्ण स्थान हो धनुषा धाम र त्यो राम र सीताको बीचको एउटा प्रतीक रूपमा त्यो धनुष मानिन्छ र जनकपुर आउने दर्शनार्थीलाई यदि धनुषको दर्शन भएन भने पूर्ण दर्शन हुँदैन, अधुरो दर्शन हुन्छ।
त्रेताकालीन इतिहास बोकेको जनकपुरको धनुष सागर, 3 टुक्रा भएको शिवजीको धनुष मध्ये एक टुक्रा पातालमा गएको थियो भन्ने किम्वदन्ती अनुसार सोही स्थानमा पोखरीको आकार लिएको मान्यता छ। आज सोही स्थानलाई धनुष सागरको नामले चिन्ने गरिन्छ। जानकी मन्दिरको छेवैमा रहेको राम मन्दिर, जानकी मन्दिर पुग्ने जो कोही राम मन्दिर पुग्ने गर्दछन्। जानकी मन्दिरको निर्माण भन्दा पहिले नै निर्मित यो मन्दिरको निर्माण प्यागोडा शैलीमा गरिएको छ। राम मन्दिरलाई झट्ट हेर्दा पशुपतिनाथ मन्दिरको झल्को आउँछ। राम मन्दिरमा पञ्चायन मूर्ति, लक्ष्मी नारायण, विष्णु अवतारको मूर्ति, अन्य देवी देवताको नित्य पूजा अर्चना गर्ने गरिन्छ। मन्दिरमा रहेका ती मूर्तिहरू चतुर्भुज गिरीले फेला पारेका थिए। तिनै सन्तले पछि मन्दिरमै रहेको वरको रुखमुनि मूर्तिहरू राखेर पूजा सुरु गरेका थिए भन्ने भनाइ छ।
यहाँ सुरकिशोर दास आएका थिए, उनकै समकालीन एउटा अर्को सन्यासी चतुर्भुज गिरी पनि यहाँ आएका थिए भनिन्छ। भने जोशी मठका उनी त्यहाँका सन्यासी थिए, शङ्कराचार्यका शिष्य थिए भने। अनि यहाँ उनी पनि मिथिला खोज्दै जनकपुर आएका थिए। यहाँ बस्दाखेरि एउटा भनाइ के छ भने उनी यहाँ आउँदाखेरि अहिले जहाँ राम मन्दिर छ त्यो राम मन्दिरकै ठाउँमा एउटा रुखमुनि बसेका थिए। उनीलाई स्वप्न भयो अरे, त्यो भनाइ छ एउटा किंवदन्ती जस्तो। उनले त्यहाँ खन्दाखेरि त्यहाँबाट मूर्तिहरू फेला पारे, लक्ष्मीनारायणका मूर्तिहरू अहिले पनि त्यहाँ लक्ष्मीनारायणका मूर्तिहरू त्यहाँ छ त्यहाँ, र अहिले राम मन्दिरका भएका मूर्तिहरू पनि छन्। तुलना गर्न त्यसपछि त्यहाँ एउटा मठ उनले पनि बनाएका थिए। त्यहाँ सुरुमा ऊ थियो भनिन्छ। अहिले जुन देखिन्छ नि त्यो ऐतिहासिक तथ्यहरूले के भन्छन् भने यो चौथो ढाँचा हो जो अहिले देखिएको हो। त्यहाँ सुरुमा एउटा मठ जस्तो रह्यो होला, पछि त्यसलाई मकवानी राजाहरूले पनि ढाँचा त्यहाँ खडा गरिदिए त्यहाँ मन्दिरहरू। त्यो तुलना गर्नु भनेपछि जानकी मन्दिर अलि भारतीय उसँग बढी नजिक देखिन्थ्यो भनेपछि राम मन्दिरका जुन सन्यासीहरू त्यहाँ अहिले पनि त्यहाँ गिरी नै हुन्छ। त्यहाँ दुईवटा फरक के छ भने यो जानकी मन्दिर वैष्णवी मठ हो, रामानन्दीहरूको मठ हो, अनि त्यो सन्यासीहरूको मठ हो।
जनकपुर धामका पुराना मन्दिरहरूमध्ये लक्ष्मण मन्दिर पनि एउटा हो। यो मन्दिर जानकी मन्दिर अगाडिको विशाल प्राङ्गणको उत्तर पूर्वमा पर्दछ। यस मन्दिरमा मुख्य रूपमा भगवान सीताराम, लक्ष्मण र लवकुशका धातुका मूर्तिहरू राखेर पूजा आजा गरिन्छ। राजा जनककै नामले प्रख्यात नगरी जनकपुर धाममा रहेको जनक मन्दिर प्राचीनताको अर्को नमुना हो। यो मन्दिर धनुष सागरको उत्तर पश्चिम डिलमा अवस्थित छ। गंगा सागरको डिलमा शिव मन्दिर रहेको छ। शिवरात्रि लगायतका पर्वहरूमा मन्दिरमा ठूलै संख्यामा दर्शनार्थीहरूको घुइँचो लाग्ने गर्दछ। गंगा सागरको उत्तर पश्चिम तथा शिवचोकमा रहेको यो मन्दिरको निर्माण 2038 सालमा गरिएको हो। यो मन्दिरको निर्माण भने शिखर शैलीमा गरिएको छ। जानकी मन्दिरमा बिहान 7 बजे र बेलुका 8 बजे आरती हुने गर्दछ। संगीतमय यो आरती हेर्नका लागि श्रद्धालुहरूको भिड नै लाग्ने गर्दछ। बिहानको पूजापाठ होस् वा दिउँसोको रामायण पाठ अथवा भजन कीर्तनदेखि साँझको आरतीसम्म यहाँ भक्तजनहरूको भिड लाग्ने गर्दछ। यसले जानकी मन्दिर प्रतिको आस्था र विश्वासलाई समेत झल्काउने गर्दछ।
आस्था ठुलो छ यो क्षेत्रमा। जनकपुरको विकासको क्रममा हेर्ने हो भने यो दुईटा मन्दिर सम्भवतः नभएको भए जनकपुर मेटिन्थ्यो अथवा स्थापित हुने थिएन। किनभने धेरै प्राचीन पश्चिमी विद्वानहरू जसले अनुसन्धान गरेका छ जनकपुर बारेमा, उनीहरू पनि भनाइ के छ भने जनकपुर धेरैचोटि बसिसकेका छ, धेरैचोटि उजाड भइसकेका छ। यसको इतिहास त्यही भन्छ। तर यो दुईटा मन्दिरले गर्दाखेरि यहाँ के भयो भने विभिन्न कुटीहरूको स्थापना पनि भयो, जातीय कुटीहरूको स्थापना भयो। विभिन्न जातले आफ्नो आफ्नो कुटीहरूको स्थापना गरे, गाउँ घरमा बसेका थियो, तर कुटीको स्थापना जनकपुरमा गरे। किनभने जनकपुरमा आएर पुण्य कमाउनु छ।
दिउँसो 12 बजेदेखि 4 बजेसम्म भने गर्भगृहको ढोका बन्द रहन्छ। गर्भगृह पछाडि सांस्कृतिक संग्रहालय रहेको छ। यो संग्रहालयले यहाँ आउने जो कोहीको मन लोभ्याउने गर्दछ। यो संग्रहालयले हलेश्वरी महायज्ञ भएर सीता फेला परेदेखि सीतारामको विवाह भएसम्मको झझल्को दिलाउने गर्दछ। जानकी मन्दिरमा हुने महन्तको कुनै पनि व्यक्तिगत व्यवहार, कुल, परिवार नहुने यो वैष्णव धर्मको परम्पराले सञ्चालन भइरहेको छ। वैराग्य परम्पराले चल्ने यो मन्दिरको हालको पुजारी महन्त राम तपेश्वर दास हुनुहुन्छ।
महन्तको 2, 4, 10, 20टा चेला हुन्छ। त्यो चेला मध्ये चाहिँ यहाँको नगर समाज, यहाँको महन्तजी होइन, जसलाई लायक सम्झिन्छ उसलाई चाहिँ बनाउँछ। मरेपछि उसलाई दाह क्रिया गर्छ। त्यसपछि यहाँको समाज उसैलाई महन्त बनाइदिन्छ अनि गुड्स स्थान उसैलाई समर्थन दिइदिन्छ। यही परम्परा छ अहिलेसम्म।
छोटगुठीको रूपमा रहेको यो ऐतिहासिक मन्दिर भेटीबाट सञ्चालन हुने गर्दछ। छोटगुठी भएकै कारणले 3 तहकै सरकारसँगैका कुनै पनि गुठी संस्थानले यसमा लगानी गरेको छैन। 12 महिनामा 12वटा पर्व, विवाह पञ्चमी, सार्वजनिक विवाह हुनुका साथै जानकी मन्दिरको हातभित्र दैनिक जसो अखण्ड रामायण पाठ, अखण्ड कीर्तन लगायतका कार्यक्रम हुने यस मन्दिरको व्यवस्थापन समेत दान दातव्यबाट सञ्चालन भइरहेको छ।
यो जानकी मन्दिर चाहिँ छुटगुठी अन्तर्गत पर्छ। अनि गुठी संस्थान र हाम्रो जुन लाल मोहर छ नि त्यसमा लेखेको छ यसको जुन सम्पत्ति छ, यसको जुन साधन स्रोत छ, यसैबाट चाहिँ यसलाई सञ्चालन गर्ने भएन भन्ने महन्जी स्वयं यसको व्यवस्था गर्ने।
ऐतिहासिक रूपले महत्त्वपूर्ण सांस्कृतिक धरोहर मानिने जानकी मन्दिर धार्मिक हिसाबले नेपाल र भारत दुवै देशका हिन्दू धर्मावलम्बीहरूको सेतु पनि हो। मध्य प्रदेश सरकारले हिन्दू धर्मावलम्बीहरूको पवित्र र प्रख्यात तीर्थस्थल जानकी मन्दिरलाई विश्व सम्पदा सूचीमा सूचीकृत गर्नका लागि आफ्नो 2081-82 को नीति तथा कार्यक्रममा समावेश समेत गरिसकेको छ। धार्मिक पर्यटनमा अथाह सम्भावना बोकेको जानकी मन्दिर लगायतका ऐतिहासिक धरोहरहरूले हाम्रो संस्कृति र परिचय झल्काउँदछ।
Among Nepal's many glacial lakes, some are at serious risk of bursting. Sudden bursts of these lakes due to the impact of climate change could result in massive loss of lives and property. This issue has already been discussed widely in the international community. Nepal itself has been drawing attention to the condition of these lakes and the harm they could cause. Even then, in the recent years, several glacial lakes of Nepal have already burst, resulting in heavy loss of life and property. Experts warned that this trend could continue to grow and have urged everyone to take preventive action. Just a week ago, in Koike rural municipality of Dolba district of the far western Nepal, flood mixed with derbs buried about 53 houses. Likewise, in mid-April 2025, heavy rainfall and flooding in Srinagar Bazar of Odanchuli municipality in Humla in the northwestern Nepal has caused massive destruction. Continuous rain has also damaged areas in Srinagar and nearby villages in Mugu's Khatiar rural municipality. Last year, it was confirmed that the flood in Thame River of Solukhumbu in the Khumbu region of the foothills of Mount Everest was caused by glacial lake outburst. Similarly, the unexpected flood in Rasua along Nepal-China border in the north on July 8, 2025, according to experts, was the result of glacial lake outburst. Recently, ICIMOD used satellite images and other research to identify 47 glacial lakes that could burst at any time, causing harm to human settlement in Nepal. The study shows that many of these high-risk lakes are located within Koshi River Basin. ICIMOD's General Director, Dr. Pema Gyamso, says that the climate change and rising temperature are the main reasons behind the bursting of these lakes. Gyamso adds that to stop such disasters, there must be strong investment in the early warning systems and emergency preparation.
Collaboration चाहिए, cooperation transboundary. अब हाम्रो 8 वटा देश छ इन्डो-कोशी हिमालयमा, त्यसमा हामीले इन्फर्मेसन एक्सचेन्ज गर्ने, साइन्टिफिक कोअपरेसन, अब त्यसको लागि पनि इन्भेस्टमेन्ट चाहियो, फन्डिङ चाहियो, त्यसको पनि प्रब्लम छ, अन्त हामीले अहिले इसिमोड चाहिँ यो पोलिटिकली न्युट्रल भएर हामीले चाहिँ के गर्दैछौँ भने साइन्टिस्टहरू र हाम्रो पोलिसी मेकर्सहरू लिएर डिस्कस चाहिँ हुँदैछ, तर हामीले अलिक योभन्दा बेसी कोअपरेसन चाहिँ गरिरहेको छ, खास चाहिँ कोअर्डिनेसन कोअपरेसन हो। हामीले यो रिसोर्सेस र यो नपुगेर पनि कोअपरेसन छ भने अहिलेभन्दा बेसी हामीले त्यो प्रिभेन्सन गर्न सक्छौँ डिसास्टरलाई।
Out of the 47 risky glacial lakes, 25 are located in China, 21 are inside Nepal, and 1 lies on the Indian side. Even if the lakes in China and India burst, the damage would still reach Nepal's settlement downstream. Records show that glacial lake outbursts have been causing destruction in Nepal for decades. In the past 24 years alone, 26 glacial lake outbursts have been recorded. Among them, 14 occurred inside Nepal itself. Research shows that Lower Boron Lake is one of the lakes posing highest risk that could affect the nearby settlements. Similarly, Chamlang, Inja, Lumding, and Tulangi glacial lakes are also at high risk. If large amount of stored water releases at once, the resulting flood could be even bigger than the recent ones in Raswa. When heavy snow or ice falls onto the glacial lake, it can displace the water, causing sudden floods downstream. Large blocks of ice or rock sliding onto the lake can push the water out, creating massive flood carrying mud, rocks, and debris. Experts believe that Nepal still needs to do much more to reduce the impact of climate change. They say cooperation in the international community and greater national investment in prevention and protection are both essential.
सिमरौनगढ दरबार खुल्ला इतिहास, कला र संस्कृतिको एउटा संग्रहालय। इतिहास, सभ्यता र कलाको रहस्य बोकेको सहर सिमरौनगढ। एउटा छुट्टै इतिहास रच्न सफल सहर सिमरौनगढ। ऐतिहासिक, सांस्कृतिक र पुरातात्विक महत्व बोकेको सिमरौनगढ दरबार मध्य प्रदेशको बारा जिल्लामा अवस्थित सिमरौनगढ नगरपालिकामा पर्दछ। बारा जिल्लाको सदरमुकाम कलैयाबाट 20 किलोमिटर दक्षिण पूर्वमा रहेको सिमरौनगढ नगरपालिकाको कार्यालयबाट करिब 500 मिटर दक्षिण पश्चिम गएपछि सिमरौनगढ दरबार पुग्न सकिन्छ। सिमरौनगढको सम्बन्ध सिम्बलको वंशसँग रहेको तथ्य नेपालमा प्राप्त सबभन्दा पुरानो वंशावली गोपालर वंशावलीले प्रस्ट्याएको छ। सो वंशावलीमा यस स्थललाई सिमरावनगढ भनी उल्लेख छ, जसको अर्थ हुन्छ सिमलको वनमा रहेको किल्ला। सिमलको वन रहेको यो क्षेत्र सिमरावनगढबाट अपभ्रंश हुँदै सिमरौनगढ भएको मान्यता छ।
यो सिमरौनगढ नाउँ भने यहाँ पहिले सिम्बलको खाली रुख यहाँ सिम्बलको थियो। यो सिम्बलको वन भन्नु पर्यो नि, यहाँ सिम्बलको वन थियो पहिले। यसको माझमा बीचमा नि यो गढ थियो, यो किला थियो, यो गढ। त्यस कारणले सिम्बलगढ भनेर अपभ्रंश भई आएर सिमरौनगढ भन्ने हो। यसको सिम्बलगढको अपभ्रंश हो यो सिमरौनगढ।
कुनै समय एक सुरक्षित र सम्पन्न राजधानी रहेको सिमरौनगढ दरबारलाई बलिया अग्ला चक्रव्यूह आकारका पर्खालले घेरिएको थियो। तत्कालीन राजा वीरेन्द्रबाट यस क्षेत्रको अवलोकन पश्चात पुरातत्व विभाग र इटालियन सरकारको तत्वावधानमा सिमरौनगढको उत्खनन गरियो। उत्खननका क्रममा कर्णाटकालका पुरातात्विक, धार्मिक, सांस्कृतिक अवशेषहरू फेला पर्यो। सिमरौनगढका पुराना अवशेषहरू आज पनि यत्रतत्र पाइन्छ। यहाँ डढेको चामल, माटोका भाँडा बर्तन, गरगहनाहरू पाइन्छ।
यहाँको धार्मिक
इतिहास र पुरातत्व विभागको त सबै संरचना छँदैछ। यो मन्दिर छ, पुरानो मूर्ति छ, डयको चावल पाइन्छ, कङ्गन कालीको स्थान छ, तलेजु भवानीको अहिले शिलाको बाकस राखेका छ, त्यो पनि छँदैछ। चारैतिर सुन बिखरेको पनि पाइन्छ। यो सबै पाइँदाखेरि त पुरातत्व भएन।
यस क्षेत्रको कचरवा गाउँमा माकराकृतिको टुटी भएको धारो हरिपुर गाविसमा रहेको ढुङ्गाको बाकस निकै रहस्यमय छ। जति खन्दै जाँदा झन भित्र भासिनु यस बाकसको विशेषता हो। अत्यन्त कलात्मक रहेको यो बाकसको बाहिरी भाग मात्रै देखिन्छ, बाँकी भाग जमिनमा गाडिएको छ। स्थानीयले यसलाई बाकस, तिजोरी, सन्दुक भने पनि वास्तवमा यो के हो अहिलेसम्म पत्ता लाग्न सकेको छैन।
वो जमाना के शिवाजी महाराज के दरबार के तिजरी है, पत्थर हो, राज उल्टन हो गए, पत्थर हो गए, ताला कुंडी सब बंद बा में, ताला बा कुंडी बा सब सहित बा।
बाकसको नजिकै खम्बा आकारको कालो ढुङ्गा छ। खम्बा सामान्य देखिए पनि 10-15 जना मिलेर पनि यसलाई टसमस समेत गर्न सक्दैनन्। ढुङ्गाको खम्बा झन रहस्यमय छ। स्थानीयका अनुसार यस खम्बालाई बाहिर निकाल्न खोज्दा यो झन जमिनमा भासिने गर्दछ। यो क्षेत्रमा बाढी आए पनि यो खम्बा डुब्दैन। यस प्रकार सिमरनगढ क्षेत्र पुरातात्विक दृष्टिकोणले समेत महत्त्वपूर्ण छ। सिमरनगढको सांस्कृतिक सम्पदाको दोस्रो स्थानमा यहाँका मन्दिरहरूलाई लिन सकिन्छ। सिमरनगढको बीच भागमा स्थापना गरिएको कंकाली मन्दिर ईंटद्वारा निर्माण गरिएको शिखर शैलीमा छ। मन्दिर चारैतिर चतुष्कोणाकारको भवनको बीचमा शिखर उठेर माथिसम्म चुलिएको छ। मन्दिरको चारैतिर खुल्ला गुम्बजाकारको प्रवेशद्वार निर्माण गरिएको छ। मन्दिरमा रहेका कंकालीको मूर्ति कालो प्रस्तरमा खोदिएको छ। मूर्तिको गोलाकार अनुहार, ठूला आँखा, पुष्ट छातीले त्यस बेलाको विशेषतालाई दर्शाउँछ। देवीको गालामा हार, कानमा गोलाकार कुण्डल, कम्मरमा हार जडेको च्याप्टो पेटी छ। शान्त सौम्य मुद्रामा रहेको यो मूर्तिले कलामा छुट्टै स्थान ओगटेको छ।
यो सिमरनगढ भनेको कंकाली स्थान जो कि दुनियाँको सबभन्दा शक्तिपीठ राम्रो, जहाँ बलि नै चढ्दैन। यो फेरि कंकालीमा सबै शक्तिपीठमा बलि चढ्छ, तर कंकालीमा स्थानमा बलि चढ्दैन। त्यस्तो विशाल मन्दिर, अनि यस्तो विशाल मन्दिर राम जानकीको मन्दिर यहाँ दुईटा छ। अनि यसको अलावा पनि यहाँ नानदेवले यानि कि 1097 ईस्वीमा सिमरनगढलाई राजधानी बनाएको यो नानदेव हो। नानदेवको 7औं पुस्ता जगह, त्यसमा हरसिंहदेव, गङदेव, रामदेव सबै 7औं पुस्ता हो। अन्तिम पुस्ता चाहिँ हरसिंहदेव हो। हरसिंहदेवको पालामा ग्यासुद्दिन तुगलकले यहाँ आक्रमण गरेर सबै ध्वस्त पारिदिएको थियो। यस्तो यस्तो पूर्वाधारहरू छ। तैपनि हाम्रो सिमरनगढमा कसैको नजर छैन। यहाँ त म भन्छु कि यसलाई विश्व सम्पदा सूचीमा राख्यो भने सबभन्दा राम्रो हुन्छ। यहाँको नेताहरूले यसै माध्यममा भन्छु कि सिमरनगढलाई विश्व सम्पदा सूचीमा राख्नु जरुरी छ।
यहाँ रामनवमीको दिन ठूलो मेला लाग्ने गर्दछ। सामान्य रूपमा भक्तजनहरू आउने क्रम दिनहुँ नै रहन्छ। अहिले पनि यो क्षेत्रमा कंकाली माताको ठूलो महिमा छ भनिन्छ। त्यसै गरी चिताएको फल देवीले पूरा गर्छिन् भन्ने जनविश्वास समेत रहेको छ।
पहिलादेखि अहिले यो सालमा धेरै पर्यटक
म 2-4वटा यो कामको सिलसिलामा बसेको थियो। शनिबारको दिनौ 1000 देखि 1500 मान्छे बाहिरबाट आउँछ। अब त्यसको लागि पनि हामी व्यवस्थापन गरिराखेका छौँ। त्यहाँ एउटा पूजा अर्चना गर्नको लागि बेलुका बिहानै आरती, जस्तै हरिद्वारमा तपाईँ गयो सक्नु होला भले हेर्नु होला, बिहानै र बेलुका गङ्गाको आरती हुन्छ। त्यहाँ पनि कंकाली मन्दिरमा हामी आरतीको एउटा छिटै व्यवस्था गर्छौँ। अहिले त 2टा बोट पनि राखेका छौँ। मान्छेहरू पर्यटक आउँछ भने त्यसलाई घुम्नको लागि, त्यो पानीमा विहार गर्नको लागि, राम्रो वातावरणको लागि आउँदो दिनमा एउटा स्टिमर किनेर त्यहाँ राख्ने हामी पनि प्लानिङ गरेका छौँ।
कंकाली मन्दिर प्राङ्गणमा विभिन्न देवी देवताका अन्य मन्दिरहरू पनि रहेका छन्। प्राङ्गणमा रहेका मानसाराम बाबाको मन्दिर 3 मिटर उचाइ र 5.47 मिटरको चतुर्कोणाकारमा निर्माण गरिएको छ। मन्दिरभित्र मानसाराम बाबाको समाधि स्थल छ। समाधि अगाडि एक जोर खराउ छ, जसलाई मानसा बाबाको खराउ भनी पूजा गरिन्छ। प्राङ्गणमा शिव, पार्वती, हनुमान, विष्णु, विश्वकर्माको मन्दिर रहेका छन्।
कंकाली मन्दिर धेरै पुरानो इतिहास बोकेको मन्दिर हो। त्यो मन्दिरको प्राङ्गणमा तपाईको कंकाली मन्दिर, मनसा बाबा मन्दिर, तपाईको विष्णु मन्दिर, तपाईको यो धेरै मन्दिरहरू छन्।
कंकाली मन्दिरदेखि करिब 1.5 माइलको पश्चिम दूरीमा रहेको छ रानीबास, जहाँ राम जानकीको मन्दिर छ। जङ्गबहादुर राणाका छोरा जीतजङले विक्रम सम्मत 1935मा आमा हिरण्य कुमारी सती जाने बेलामा व्यक्त गरेको इच्छा बमोजिम यो मन्दिरको निर्माण भएको थियो, जुन यहाँको घण्टामा समेत उल्लेख छ। मूल मन्दिर भने 3 तहको पेटीमाथि बनेको छ। मन्दिरभित्र राम, सीता र लक्ष्मणका धातुका प्रतिमाहरू प्रतिष्ठापित छन्। अगाडि जङ्गबहादुर, हिरण्य कुमारी लगायत परिवारका सदस्यहरूको प्रतिमा रहेका छन्।
पहिला 2224 को बेलादेखि यहाँ राजा शिवसिंहको पालीमा यो राम जानकी मन्दिर थियो र त्यसपछि नानदेवजी पनि आउनुभयो, त्यो उहाँको पालीमा पनि यहाँ राम जानकी मन्दिर र हाम्रो जङ्गबहादुर महाराजज्यू 1838 मा आएर हे भन्दा न उहाँ त अग्लो मन्दिर काठको नै बनाउनु भयो। त्यो प्रमाणै छ, आजसम्म इटमा लेखेर राखेको छ। र त्यसपछि 1935 मा हाम्रो जङ्गबहादुरको कान्छो छोरो जितजङ भनेर उहाँले नै बनाउनु भएको छ। उहाँको शिला यो जङ्गबहादुर महाराजको, उहाँको पत्नी, 2टा छोरी र एउटा कान्छो छोरो।
जङ्गबहादुर राणा जङ्गबहादुर पहिले यहाँ शिकार खेल्न आउनुहुन्थ्यो। और शिकार खेल्दा खेल्दै यहाँ एउटा बासको रूपमा चाहिँ शिकार खेल्ने, यहाँ बास बस्ने, अनि फेरि जाने, फेरि इसमें बास बस्ने, शिकार खेल्ने। अब यहाँबाट जाँदाखेरि पत्रहट्टामा उहाँको मृत्यु भयो जङ्गबहादुरको। अनि यो छोरो थियो जगतजङ। अब त्यसको बुवाको नाउँमा पनि यो मन्दिर निर्माण गरिदियो। यो मन्दिर विशाल मन्दिर त्यो उनको छोरोले बनायो।
मन्दिरको प्राङ्गण वरिपरि 2 तलामा चतुष्कोणाकारका धर्मशाला बनेका छन्। मन्दिर निर्माणमा त्यहाँका भग्नावशेषहरू प्रयोग भएको छ। समय समयमा प्राप्त भएको मूर्तिले सिमरनगढको महत्वलाई थन बढाएको छ। यहाँका मूर्तिकलाका रचनाहरूले सिमरनगढको सांस्कृतिक समृद्धिलाई पुष्टि गर्दछ। यहाँको मूर्तिकलाले आर्थिक रूपले समृद्ध यो राज्यमा कला र साहित्यले भरपूर उन्नति गर्ने मौका पाएको स्पष्ट हुन्छ। केही वर्ष अगाडि पुरातत्व विभागको सक्रियतामा कंकाली मन्दिर परिसरका मूर्तिहरूलाई मन्दिर परिसरमै घर बनाई संग्रहित गरिएको छ। त्यसै गरी सिमरौनगढका केही मूर्ति र दरबारका अवशेषलाई राष्ट्रिय संग्रहालय छाउनीमा संग्रहित गरिएको छ। सिमरौनगढको तोरणद्वारको टुक्रा संग्रहालयको भित्री गेटमै राखिएको छ। यस क्षेत्रमा अनेकन पोखरी र इनारहरू रहेका छन्, जसमध्ये इसरा, झरौखरा, राजाबादा, मनहरवा, आमवा, हथाइया प्रमुख छन्। इसारा पोखरी कंकाली मन्दिरको अगाडि छ। यो पोखरीको नाम राजा शिवसिंहकी रानी इसाराको नामबाट राखिएको छ। रानीवास मन्दिरको 1 किलोमिटर दूरीमा दक्षिणतर्फ खजहरी गाउँ छ। कर्नाट वंशी राजाहरूले खजाना राख्ने ठाउँ भएकाले यस ठाउँको नाम खजहनी भएको जनविश्वास छ। सो ठाउँमा अहिले पनि खेत, कुलो, माछा पोखरी खन्ने क्रममा पुरातात्विक वस्तु तथा मूर्ति भेट्न सकिन्छ। शान्ति, ऐश्वर्य र करुणाले धपक्क बलेको अलौकिक भाव र मुस्कानयुक्त चिल्ला काला ढुङ्गामा कुँदिएका मूर्तिहरूले यहाँको कलाको स्वतन्त्र र मौलिक शैलीलाई प्रस्तुत गर्दछ। मूर्तिमा पाइने आवरण र आभूषणले त छन् भक्ति रस र सौन्दर्य रस प्रदान गराउन सफल छ। मूर्तिहरूमा भाव अभिव्यक्तिको जुन मार्मिकता प्रदर्शित छ, त्यसको जति प्रशंसा गरे पनि पूर्ण हुँदैन। अथाह पर्यटकीय सम्भावना बोकेको ऐतिहासिक र धार्मिक धरोहर सिमरौनगढ दरबारसम्म पुग्नका लागि जनप्रतिनिधिहरू निर्वाचित भएर आएसँगै बाटोको सहज व्यवस्था भएको छ। सडक सुविधाका लागि नगरले पहल गरेसँगै आगन्तुकलाई केही सहज भएको छ।
मन्दिरको फुटपाथ निर्माण गरिराखेको छ। मन्दिरको फुटपाथ निर्माणमा तपाईको ब्लक लगाएर त्यो सौन्दर्यीकरण मन्दिरको भविष्य बाहिरबाट जुन पर्यटक आउँछ त्यो राम्रो कसरी हेर्न सकिन्छ, त्यसको आउने जाने केही कठिनाइ हुँदैन। त्यहाँ बस्नको लागि, आउने जाने हेर्नको लागि त्यो कंकाली मन्दिरमा गरिराखेको छ।
सिमरौनगढका बारेमा अहिलेसम्म स्वदेशी र विदेशी पुरातत्वविदद्वारा धेरै अनुसन्धान भएका छन्। यी अनुसन्धानहरूले सिमरौनगढ कुनै बेला दक्षिण एसियाका समुन्नत राज्यहरू मध्येको एक राज्य तिरहुतको राजधानी रहेको प्रमाणित भइसकेको छ। तर उत्खनन हुन बाँकी नै रहेकाले तत्कालीन राजधानी सिमरौनगढका राजाहरूले राखेका आधिकारिक अभिलेख फेला पर्न सकेका छैनन्। तर उनीहरूका पालामा बनेका पोखरी, मूर्ति, कङ्कालिनी मन्दिर, रानीवास दरबार लगायतका सामग्रीहरू अहिले पनि साक्षीको रूपमा रहेका छन्। यहाँ टाढा टाढाबाट बास बस्न आउने पर्यटकहरूका लागि भने राम्रो होटल अथवा आवास गृहको अभाव छ। सुविधा सम्पन्न होटल, होमस्टे निर्माणका लागि सिम्रोनगढ उद्योग वाणिज्य संघले आवश्यक पहल गरिरहेको छ।
त्यो बस्नको लागि त अहिले तत्काल 2वटा होटल छ, अरू पनि बनाउनको लागि सोचिरहेछ यहाँको व्यापारीहरूले, बनाउँछ भविष्यमा पनि। अनि यहाँ एउटा के छ हजुर कि हाम्रो सिम्रोनगढमा भारतबाट मेन आउने चाहिँ भारतबाट नै हो बढी पर्यटक। त्यसको लागि पहिला यहाँ छोटी भन्सार थिएन, भर्खर हामी यो 1 महिना जति पहिला सञ्चालन गराएछौँ। तर सरकारसँग पनि पहल गरेछौँ कि कम्तीमा यहाँ मूल भन्सार होस्। मूल भन्सार भइदिएको भए गाडीको आवत जावत अनि चाहिँ इन्ट्री गरेर होस् या भन्सार गरेर होस्, त्यो हिसाबले पनि यहाँ आउँछ। सरकारले पनि राजस्व उठ्छ त्यसबाट, अनि देशको आम्दानी पुँजी हुन्छ, हाम्रो सिम्रोनगढको पनि विकास हुन्छ, अनि पर्यटकहरू पनि बढी यहाँ आवत जावत गर्छ।
यस क्षेत्रको संरक्षण र प्रवर्धनका निम्ति बृहत योजनाको आवश्यकता देखिन्छ। कला संस्कृतिको अंकुर भण्डारको रूपमा रहेको यस क्षेत्रको उत्खनन र न्यायोचित मूल्याङ्कन नगरिएसम्म नेपालको कलाकृतिको इतिहासको खोजी अधुरो नै रहने प्रश्न छ, जसका लागि गुठी संस्थान, पुरातत्व विभाग जस्ता निकायहरूको भूमिका महत्वपूर्ण रहन सक्छ।
सिम्रोनगढ उद्योग वाणिज्य संघबाट पनि यसमा देशमा अनि पर्यटक मन्त्रालयमा पनि हामी पठाएछौँ। यहाँ जसरी भए पनि यहाँको पहिला हाम्रो सिम्रोनगढमा सबै सम्पदा छँदैछ, तर तिनीहरू लोप हुँदैछ। त्यसको लागि हामी पर्यटक मन्त्रालयमा, अर्थ मन्त्रालयमा पटक पटक बारम्बार चाहिँ हामी आफ्नो लिखित रूपमा पत्रहरू पठाएछौँ कि सरकारबाट पहल होस्, यसलाई जसरी जे जस्तो छ त्यसलाई व्यवस्थित गरोस्, अनि राम्रो हेर्न भइदिएको भए पर्यटकहरू त्यहाँ आफै आउँछ नि। त्यसको लागि हामी उद्योग वाणिज्य सङ्घबाट धेरै पहल पनि गरेका छौँ। पहल फेरि गर्नको लागि अनि एउटा टिम बनाएर हामी सोचिरहेछौँ कि यसको लागि एकचोटि माथि केन्द्रमा काठमाडौँ गएर एकचोटि पर्यटन मन्त्रालयमा गएर बसेर यसको कुरा राखेर अर्थमन्त्री कहाँ पनि जाओस्, प्रधानमन्त्री कहाँ पनि जाओस्, उहाँहरूको ध्यान हो यो सिम्रोनगढको पर्यटक स्थल कसरी राम्रोसँग यो यसको विकास होस् भनेर हामी पहल पनि गर्दैछौँ। हजुर
मंदिर के हमनी के निर्वास सिमरावनगढ़ कंकाली अस्थाना उ सब जगह के हमनी के अच्छा विकास, अच्छा सुंदर देखे के चाहतनी। काहे तो मंदिर मैठबा इतना दिन से अभी नहीं सही बनी। आ कंकाली अस्थाना के हमनी के नेपाल के शान है। हमनी के नेपाल के शान के हमनी के अच्छा से आवरी स्वर्ग बनाई आ से आवरी सुंदर विकास करी।
ऐतिहासिक, सांस्कृतिक र पुरातात्विक महत्व बोकेको सिम्रोनगढको संरक्षण र प्रवर्धन पक्ष केही कमजोर भने अवश्य छ। तर समग्र मिथिलाको कला संस्कृतिको परिचय दिन सफल यहाँका पुरातात्विक सम्पदाहरू संरक्षणका लागि मध्य प्रदेश सरकारले रकम नै विनियोजन गरेर काम सुरु गरेको छ। बृहत गाउँ पर्यटनको सम्भावना बोकेको यस क्षेत्रको बहुमूल्य वस्तुलाई साँच्चै मूल्यवान बनाउन प्रदेश सरकार लागि परेको छ। मर्मत समाहारको अभावमा मन्दिर जीर्ण बन्दै गइरहेका बेला प्रदेश सरकारले गरेको यो पहल र प्रयास साँच्चै प्रशंसनीय छ। मानव अतीतलाई छातीमा समेटेर ऐतिहासिक धरोहरलाई सुरक्षित राख्न सफल सिम्रोनगढ दरबार घुमौं, मधेस चिनाऊ।
Welcome to the studios of NTV World in Kathmandu. Public Service Broadcasting PSB Nepal's new initiative to make Nepal more visible and audible to the global audience. Welcome on board.
This is NTV World, facts that speak, insights that matter.
Telling the stories of a changing planet. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Exploring the heartbeat of Nepali creativity. This is NTV World.
The power of story shaped by technology. NTV World.
Unearthing Nepal's hidden heritage. Discovering the timeless Nepal.
Telling stories that endure across centuries. Where culture breathes, stories bloom.
When the world moves, we make a sense of it. NTV World.
Taste of Nepal.
Every recipe, every flavor tells the story.
Journalism in the digital age. Fast, focused, verified.
Stories hold power. Stories reflecting life. Stories of the hinterlands.
Reporting for Public Service Broadcasting.
Reporting for NTV World.
This is NTV World. Welcome to News Hour.
This is NTV World. Welcome to Primetime News.
One story at a time.
Crossing borders, connecting voices, where Nepal meets the world in dialogue. This is NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Voices that connect Nepal to the world, bringing perspective, region and relevance to every story. NTV World, Nepal's perspective to the world.
Stand by. Mic is on.
3, 2, 1, cue.
We are NTV World.
After 43 days, the longest U.S. government shutdown in history is coming to an end. Federal workers will start receiving pay again. National parks will reopen. Government services that have been curtailed or suspended entirely will resume. Air travel, which had become a nightmare for many Americans, will return to being merely frustrating. After the dust settles and the ink from President Donald Trump's signature on the funding bill dries, what has this record-setting shutdown accomplished and what has it cost? Senate Democrats, through their use of the parliamentary filibuster, were able to trigger the shutdown despite being a minority in the chamber by refusing to go along with the Republican measure to temporarily fund the government. They drew a line in the sand, demanding that the Republicans agree to extend health insurance subsidies for low-income Americans that are set to expire at the end of the year. When a handful of Democrats broke ranks to vote to reopen the government on Sunday, they received next to nothing in return, a promise of a vote in the Senate on the subsidies, but no guarantees of Republican support or even a necessary vote in the House of Representatives. In the Oval Office, U.S. President Trump said the government will now resume normal operations after people were hurt so badly from the 43-day shutdown. Many government services have been suspended since October, and around 1.4 million federal employees have been on unpaid leave or working without any pay. Indigenous protesters have defended charging the gates of Brazil's COP30 climate summit and clashing with security a day earlier, saying the action was aimed at demonstrating the desperation of their fight for forest protection. With the negotiators from countries across the globe inside the compound discussing the world's changing future as temperatures rise, the protesters told a news conference they wanted mostly to have their voices being heard. Indigenous leaders have said they are aghast at the ongoing industry and development in the Amazon. Last month, scientists warned that the Amazon rainforest could begin to die back and transform into a different ecosystem, such as a savanna, if rapid deforestation continues as the global average temperature crosses 1.5 degrees Celsius. It is predicted to do so around 2030 earlier than previously estimated. Inside the COP compound, housed in a former airport, talks continued for a third day on Wednesday across the range of issues. Among them is climate finance for funding the clean energy transition and preparations for worsening climate impacts in developing countries. The issue has become increasingly tense in the COP negotiations, with funds failing to flow in the amounts needed to meet demand amid rising damages and costs from extreme weather events. Many delegates from the 195 governments taking part in the talks have worried about the world's splintering consensus around climate action. India's government has confirmed that it is treating a car explosion that killed 12 people and wounded at least 20 others in New Delhi as a terror incident and vowed to bring the perpetrators to justice as swiftly as possible. In a resolution adopted late on Wednesday, Prime Minister Narendra Modi's cabinet directed that the investigation into the incident be pursued with the utmost urgency so that the perpetrators, their collaborators and their sponsors are identified and brought to justice without any delay. The blast on Monday evening outside Delhi's historic Red Fort was the first such explosion in the heavily guarded city of more than 20 million people since 2011. Indian authorities are investigating the blast under a stringent anti-terrorism law and have said that all angles are being probed. They have not named anyone or made any arrest in connection with the explosion. The United States, meanwhile, has offered to help India probe the explosion, according to U.S. Secretary of State. Security has been ramped up across the Bangladeshi capital as judges at the International Crimes Tribunal prepare to deliver a landmark verdict on November the 17th in the Crimes Against Humanity trial of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina, who remains in exile in India. 78-year-old Hasina faces charges of murder, torture, conspiracy and command responsibility over a violent crackdown on student protesters during the July 2024 uprising, which ultimately led to her removal from power. According to the tribunal documents, more than 1,400 people were killed and tens of thousands injured in clashes between security forces and demonstrators demanding reforms. The former leader has defied court orders to return to Dhaka to face a trial, citing safety concerns. The tribunal, after months of proceedings, is set to announce its verdict in absentia, the first time in Bangladesh's history that a former head of government faces such charges before a domestic war crimes court. Meanwhile, the interim government has warned of stern action against any attempts to disrupt public order as the banned Awami League, Hasina's longtime ruling party, has called for a Dhaka lockdown protest on the day of the verdict. International observers are watching closely, with human rights groups urging transparency and due process, while India faces diplomatic pressure over Hasina's continued stay on its territory. If convicted, Hasina could face life imprisonment or the death penalty under Bangladesh's laws. In the meantime, interim leader Mohammad Yunus had said Bangladesh will hold a referendum on the same day of the parliamentary election scheduled for February 2026 on a landmark democratic reform charter. Yunus, the 85-year-old Nobel Peace Prize laureate leading the South Asian nation until the elections, says he had inherited a completely broken down political system after taking over following an uprising last year. In a secret laboratory in eastern Ukraine, the young deputy commander Konstantin holds a small device made by the anti-aircraft unit of the 3rd Brigade which he belongs to. This 3D printed FPV drone measures about 30 centimeters and is aimed at intercepting the larger and significantly more expensive Russian drones. Emerging in the spring of 2024, the small machine marked a turning point in the defense of Ukraine's skies as mobile units deployed on the ground had been struggling to shoot down Russia's Shahid drones capable of flying up to 3,000 meters in altitude. In response, Ukrainian President Zelensky made the production of the FPV drones a priority in July. Commanders rejoice that now Ukraine is at the top regarding interceptor drone technology. Tuberculosis deaths have fallen by 3% to 1.23 million people in 2024, the World Health Organization says. In its annual TB report published on Wednesday, the United Nations Health Agency also revealed that overall cases of the disease has dropped by almost 2% since 2023. It marked the first time since the COVID-19 pandemic that TB cases and deaths had declined. In 2024, a record 8.3 million people accessed tuberculosis treatment after being newly diagnosed, while treatment success rates rose from 68 to 71%, according to WHO. However, the health agency warned that recent progress in tackling the disease is under threat due to a shortfall in aid. WHO's chief Tedros Adhanom Ghebreyesus says it could reverse the hard-won gain.
Today, WHO is publishing this year's Global Tuberculosis Report, which shows a decline in new TB cases and deaths for the first time since before the COVID-19 pandemic. Meanwhile, the number of people being tested and treated is increasing. For the first time in over a century, new effective TB vaccines for adolescents and adults are within reach. At least 18 vaccine candidates are currently in clinical development, including 6 in phase 3 trials. Despite all this good news, progress is not victory. TB still killed more than 1.2 million people in 2024, which for a disease that's preventable and curable is simply unconscionable.
Although TB deaths in 2024 are 29% lower than those recorded in 2015, the WHO has hoped to reduce this figure by 75% by 2025 and 90% by 2030. It says long-term cuts to international donor funding can result in up to 2 million additional deaths and 10 million people falling ill with TB between 2025 and 2035. Last year, critical international aid helped to prevent 3.65 million deaths from the disease, according to WHO. South Korean Ministry of Data and Statistics conducted its survey on people aged 13 and older, indicating that some 1.5 million people are at risk of social isolation and usually feel lonely. A survey was conducted on some 34,000 people aged 13 and older to find out if they have a social network of people to interact with or get help from in difficult times. 5.8% of the respondents said they have none. Being alone is not necessarily a problem as long as people living alone are doing fine. But when asked if they usually feel lonely, 3.3% of the respondents said they had no social network and felt lonely. This means about 1.5 million Koreans feel emotionally isolated. They are presumed to be either socially reclusive or at a high-risk group. This is the government's first survey into social isolation and reclusion. The UK's historic city of Durham is preparing to glow once again as the Festival of Light returns for its latest and reportedly final edition this week. The biennial festival opens on November the 13th, transforming the city's streets, breezes and landmarks into a dazzling open-air gallery of light installations. More than 40 artworks by international and local artists will feature across the city and beyond, including new installations in Sildon celebrating the area's railway heritage. Highlights include large-scale projections on the cathedral, interactive light sculptures across the riverway, and community-created displays inspired by Durham's history. Festival organizers expect tens of thousands of visitors over the three-day event, which runs until Saturday from 5 p.m. to 10 p.m. each evening. Since its launch in 2009, the festival has become the UK's leading art festival, drawing more than 1.3 million visitors and generating over £40 million for the local economy.
World Bank predicts sluggish GDP growth rate for Nepal, cites recent unrest and heightened political uncertainty. Mysterious death of another Nepali student in the UK raises questions over diaspora's safety. Autopsy report awaited. Nepal's embassy in Portugal urges to be wary of fraudulent work visa schemes. The European country suspends work visas for non-skilled jobs. Major metropolises, including Nepal's capital Kathmandu, long for cleaner air in winter to breathe. Air quality likely to further deteriorate. Bangladesh capital Dhaka reels under lockdown. Security beefed up ahead of tribunal's verdict on ousted Prime Minister Hasina. And Sinner reaches the knockout stages of ATP finals, secures straight set win over third seed Zverev. I'm Sarah Sapsanamarai and this is NTV World News Hour. We're coming to you live from Kathmandu at 2200 hours. Across the globe, it is 4:15 p.m. in London, 1:15 a.m. in Tokyo and 3:15 a.m. in Sydney. And now the news in detail. Nepal's economic growth is set to slow to 2.1% in fiscal year 2026, down from 4.6% the previous year, the World Bank said Wednesday, citing the impact of September's political unrest and instability. The bank forecasts a rebound to 4.7% in the fiscal 27 as reconstruction efforts gain momentum. The World Bank highlighted the services sector as particularly vulnerable and warned that continued political uncertainty could undermine investor confidence. To counter the slowdown, the government has launched an integrated business recovery plan offering grants, tax incentives and support for infrastructure rehabilitation. Experts emphasize that boosting public investment will be critical for long-term growth, job creation and economic resilience, noting that Nepal's current investment levels remain below the levels needed to meet infrastructure demands. A Nepali youth in the United Kingdom has tragically died just a day before he was due to receive his master's degree. Yoman Chand, who was 26 years old from Salya, Nepal, was studying communications and information engineering at the University of Hertfordshire. He passed away on November 11 in Edgware, with police ruling out suspicious circumstances, although the autopsy report is pending. The Non-Resident Nepali Association UK held a virtual meeting with his family, who have requested his body to be repatriated. A fundraising campaign has been launched to cover the cost. Friends and the Nepali community have expressed deep sorrow at his untimely death. More on this later in the bulletin. As global labour migration rises, Nepal's embassy in Portugal has urged citizens to be wary of fraudulent work visa schemes. The warning comes after Portugal suspended all work visas for non-highly skilled jobs last month. Officials say hundreds of Nepali people, many already employed in the Gulf and Malaysia, have fallen victim to fake recruiters promising jobs in Europe. Portugal has become one of the fastest growing destinations for Nepali workers, with thousands arriving annually. Authorities are calling for greater international cooperation to protect migrant rights and prevent exploitation. Kathmandu is facing a worsening air pollution crisis as winter settles over the valley. Cold air traps pollutants, creating a dense layer of smog that regularly pushes the city to the top of global air quality hazard lists. Environmental experts blame emissions from vehicles, brick kilns and domestic heating. Health authorities report a significant rise in respiratory illnesses, including asthma and bronchitis, particularly among children and the elderly. Officials are urging stricter emission controls and public awareness, warning that without immediate action, Kathmandu's residents will continue to face severe health risks this winter. More on this in our cover story later in the bulletin. Now, Bangladesh is on high alert ahead of a historic verdict in the crimes against humanity trial of ex-Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. Thousands of security forces have been deployed in Dhaka following violent clashes and attacks. Hasina, tried in absentia for a deadly 2024 crackdown, could face life imprisonment or the death penalty. Authorities urge calm as the country heads toward elections and a national reform referendum next year. Defending champion Yannick Sinner has reached the ATP semi-finals after defeating two-time winner Alexander Zverev 6-4, 6-3. The Italian extends his indoor hard-court streak to 28 matches. Ben Shelton was eliminated earlier, while Carlos Alcaraz needs one more win to stay world number one. Thursday's matches feature Alcaraz versus Lorenzo Musetti and Taylor Fritz against Alex de Minaur. And up next, we speak with the NRNA UK president about the tragic passing of a Nepali student in the UK on our issue of the day. Do stay with us. World, welcome back to News Hour. Tragedy has struck the Nepali student community in the United Kingdom. Yoman Chand, who was 26 years old from Salya, Nepal, has died just a day before he was due to receive his master's degree in communications and information engineering at the University of Hertfordshire. Chand, who had been living in Edgware, passed away on November 11. Local police say there are no suspicious circumstances, though the autopsy report is still pending. In a virtual meeting today, representatives of the Non-Resident Nepali Association UK spoke with Chand's family in Nepal. His relatives have requested his body to be repatriated, and a fundraising campaign has been launched to cover the costs. Friends and the wider Nepali community have expressed deep sorrow at his untimely death. Now, this tragic incident comes amid growing concerns over the well-being of Nepali students abroad, with rising reports of stress, mental health challenges and untimely deaths in recent years. To discuss this issue, we now go live to a WhatsApp interview with Rajendra Purasaini, the president of Non-Resident Nepali Association, UK. Mr. Purasaini, welcome to NTV World News Hour. How soon are you expecting to receive the autopsy report, and when can the bereaved family back home receive Yoman's body?
Yeah, Yoman's body has been taken to local hospital, Northwick Park, and the coroner has suggested us to wait 2 to 4 working days for the interim report. Hopefully, it will be about 7 to 10 days before we can take the body and plan to repatriate the body to Nepal.
Mr. Purasaini, how has the Nepali community and NRNA UK observed this situation, and what does this say about the scenario that Nepali students are living in the country?
It's really heartbreaking to share the news like this. This is an important and very sensitive issue. We offer empathy, practical support wherever we can, physically, emotionally and financially provide. We are trying to bring the Nepali communities together to give information to the newcomers, students, for their well-being, their safeguarding, and to give them the support wherever they need, such as finding the accommodation, finding the job, and to look after their own health and well-being very carefully, because we are having to lose lots of Nepalese living in the not only UK, in other countries as well, with unexplained death. Sometimes it could be contributing factor, for example, because of their financial stress, health and well-being, and scenarios like this.
Just to stretch on what you just said, is there a specific mechanism under NRNA UK to support Nepali students?
We have like student support and the community support helplines, emergency relief fund we raise time to time. We work in partnership with other universities who bring the Nepalese and international students to the UK, and employer like Nepalese employer and other British employer as well, asking them to give empathy to Nepalese students. And we are doing the community networking, and we are just making an awareness program for advocacy and working collaboration with multi-agencies to give information and to help Nepalese students living in the UK and facing the financial crisis, job crisis, and a really accommodation crisis. We are trying to bring our communities together.
Now, coming back to Yoman's case again, how is the Nepali community coming together to help the family of the deceased?
Naturally, Nepalese communities are really helpful, and they always try and offer their pair of hands to support our countrymen when they need any kind of support, mainly emotional support, finding the job, finding the accommodation, and giving them mental health support, and etc. Whatever the need they require whilst they are far away from home. We are trying to bring our community together, like sharing information, communicating, and working collaboratively to other organizations.
Mr. Purasaini, you held a virtual meeting today with the family members of the deceased. Could you share us what communication or what messages did you guys extend with one another?
Yeah, we had a meeting today, especially very important meeting. First of all, we contacted deceased parents back home in Nepal, in Solyan, and with their agreement, with their consent, with the parent and the older brother, and we started a fundraising campaign, which is going live British 6 p.m. tonight. We have already started the process, and we came to conclusion that the fundraising campaign goes in one-door system involving the deceased first cousin, his maternal uncle's son, Susan Saha, who lives here very close by, and we involve him and his other cousin and other friends, close friends and family, including the local Nepali organization, including obviously NRNA was there, and local Burnt Oak Nepalese community was involved. We held a meeting in Burnt Oak Nepali community hall today, and created a GoFund fundraising campaign, and we are asking all the Nepalese diaspora organizations and Nepalese people living in the UK to donate in one-way system, so that we will have transparency collecting money and repatriating the body of the deceased within very foreseeable time, maybe 7 to 10 working days, whatever the hospital instructs us after we have the interim report of autopsy.
Now, in a slightly different context, how have you viewed the scenario of Nepali students considering the current global economic crisis, or from health and psychological perspectives?
It's really alarming that Nepalese students are coming without understanding of the situation about job, their welfare, their education, their housing situation. What happens when they come to England is they just think like an economic student aiming to earn and learn. Legally, student only can work about 20 hours per week if found a job. In current situation of this economic crisis time, Nepalese students are really facing very hard time to find the legal part-time work, even 20 hours. They are, being referred from mouth, like word of mouth by Nepalese community members, leaders, and their, student colleagues to find the cash-in-hand job, the underpaid, very low-paid cash-in-hand job, and struggling to pay their tuition fees and struggling to pay their accommodation. So this is really hard, especially the education consultancies are suggesting then they can survive with 20 hours work. But in reality, this is becoming a very serious issue in the UK, trying to find part-time job and quality accommodation to live. For example, a 3-bedroom house can only legally occupy 5-6 people, but our students are living like 15, 17 people in one house. So, and they are becoming homeless, they are becoming jobless with lots of financial, emotional, stress.
Mr. Purasani, we understand you have a very busy schedule, but despite that, you joined us. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
And we'll pause for a short break now. When we return, our cover story focuses on Kathmandu's air quality and why this South Asian capital is facing one of the region's most severe pollution crisis. Welcome back to NTV World News Hour. As winter settles over Kathmandu, the chill in the air brings more than just cold. It traps a dense layer of smog that chokes the valley, turning Nepal's capital Kathmandu into one of the most polluted cities in the world. Vijeta Bhandari takes a closer look.
As temperatures drop, a familiar smoggy blanket covers metropolis like Nepal's capital, Kathmandu. The city's air, already strained, turns toxic in the staleness of winter, and the Kathmandu Valley turns into a bowl. Increasing pollution pressure in cities keeps accumulating but takes longer to clear, especially when there is very little rainfall and wind movement in winter season. For many residents, breathing clean air becomes a daily struggle. Kathmandu's air quality index level often tops the charts, periodically being crowned as the most polluted city in the world. The number remains teetering between the unhealthy and hazardous level of the index in the peak period of late winter. This level of pollution can be attributed to sources across the border due to crop stubs burning practices in neighboring Indian states. Dust particles in Kathmandu Valley roam around so freely that only a major burst of rain can settle them, much due to the soil pattern of the valley that does not absorb much water. While large-scale solutions require government and even international actions, we can still adopt a few safe habits at individual level to stay safer. This can include making a habit of checking the daily air quality index level before heading out, as the air quality index changes daily and even hourly. Other habits can include using masks, limiting outdoor activities during the early morning or late evening hours when pollution is at its worst. Most importantly, what we can do at an individual level is to reduce our emissions, avoid burning waste, especially plastics, and support greener initiatives at the community level. While a complete solution may take a while, smaller actions taken at individual level may help cities like Kathmandu breathe a little easier this winter.
And to help us understand the causes and what can be done, we're now joined by Bhushan Tuladhar, environment expert, to discuss Kathmandu's air crisis and potential solutions. Mr. Tuladhar, welcome to NTV World News Hour.
Thank you.
Kathmandu often ranks among the world's most polluted cities. Despite its small size, what key factors do you think makes its air quality so poor?
Well, two things. One is natural, and second, I'd say, is man-made, right? So if you look at natural, the seasonal variation that happens here causes air pollution to rise, particularly in the winter and the dry summer months. So when there's pollution, nature takes care of it by either flushing it down by rain or blowing it away by wind. But in this time, we don't have rain, so the air pollution just remains there. And particularly in the winter, we have this phenomena called temperature inversion that happens mostly in valleys like ours, whereby we have cold, warm, cold layer wind that acts as a lid to trap the pollutants. So that's why the pollution goes up in the winter. That's one reason. But the second reason is man-made. We have a lot of pollution sources in the valley, and in the winter, number of sources actually go up. For example, the brick kilns. They're not operating right now, but in about a month or so, they will start operating. We will have a lot of fires. When it gets cold, people burn fires, or there's dry leaves, people will burn that, or garbage, they'll burn that. And in a couple of months, we'll also have forest fire that's happening around us that will bring the pollution as well. And of course, at this time of the year, we also get quite a bit of pollution from across the border or just across Kathmandu. So those two factors make pollution quite bad in Kathmandu, particularly as the winter comes.
What would you say would be realistic steps or early interventions that could help prevent or reduce this annual surge?
Well, one thing we have to realize is just like we have the pollution in front of us, we have a lot of solutions also in front of us. There are solutions. For example, the biggest source of pollution, in a way, is just household cooking, right? When we burn firewood or dung, and more than 50% of the households still burn firewood or dung in Nepal. That can be taken care of by just introducing cleaner stoves. Nowadays, we have electric stoves, LPG stoves, fuel. So cleaner stove, cleaner fuel, and better ventilation. These are the three things that can take care of it. It's not rocket science. It can be done. Second, transport. Again, we have options. For example, electric transport or even non-motorized transport like cycling and walking. Electric transport, we're doing good in terms of a lot of EVs have come to the market. But what we need to invest in now is electrification of the public transport system, right? And the third thing is industries. And fourth is open fires that we talked about. Again, these are things that can be taken care of, even forest fires. There are management, we can look at, there are fire lines that we need to clear before the forest fire season, take care of that forest litter that's lying there. If we can utilize that, that'll be so much better. So there are solutions, but what we need to do is come up with a good comprehensive plan for managing air pollution and actually invest in that plan.
There are definitely policies by the Nepal government to incorporate all the solutions that you just suggested. Do you think it is in line or complementing, supporting the action that the public are taking actually? It's not that people are not aware, right?
Yeah, I think to the large extent, the awareness has gone up because we have this big problem and everybody breathes this air pollution. So people are aware of it. What people aren't aware of is two things. One is the long-term impact. A lot of people think that, oh, it's just short-term, I'll get some cough and so on. But the health impacts are huge. It's estimated that around 41,000 Nepalese are killed every year because of air pollution. Okay, that's the number of deaths we have because of air pollution. 41,000, that's a huge number. It's a major public health crisis that we don't realize. Second is the solutions are in front of us. A lot of people say, I mean, what can I do about it? No, the solutions are in front of us. We need to invest in it. And that's what's not happening. Yes, the government is doing something about it, but it's not enough and it's scattered. What we need to do is, like I said, a more comprehensive approach. A national air quality management plan should be in place, and the government has to invest in it. And the government does have the resources. Every citizen, when they go to the petrol pump, they pay 1 rupee 50 paisa per liter of diesel and petrol as pollution tax. That comes out to be 3 to 4 billion rupees every year. That has to be invested in this and other funds as well. So the solutions are there, the funds are there. What we need to do is prioritize them. What we need is that willingness to act, and that comes with more awareness, more public pressure on the government, and particularly the local governments need to take action.
Mr. Tuladar, thank you for joining us and sharing your thoughts.
Thank you very much.
Now, the city's air quality crisis is no longer just an environmental issue. It has become a serious public health emergency. Hospitals are under strain, respiratory illnesses are on the rise, and experts warn that urgent, coordinated action is needed from both policymakers and the community to protect residents. A report by Sabika Shrestha.
The beauty of Kathmandu Valley is now grappling with an increasingly grave public health emergency driven by deteriorating air quality. Recent data show the city's air quality index AQI slipping into the unhealthy and even hazardous levels, placing enormous pressure on the local health care system. Real-time monitoring shows the AQI at or above 150 and sometimes beyond 300 in parts of Kathmandu. According to the Health Ministry, air pollution is cutting average life expectancy in Nepal by more than 3 years and contributing to some 42,000 deaths and 26,000 premature deaths annually. The World Health Organization (WHO) reports that pollution levels in Kathmandu are roughly 4.9 times higher than what the organization recommends as safe. The Health Ministry says various policies are being launched in collaboration with the Ministry of Forest and Environment and the Ministry of Industry to reduce air pollution and improve air quality.
बढेको वायु प्रदूषणबाट जोगिन सकिन्छ र हरेक नागरिकले आफ्नो तह र तबकाबाट के चाहिँ भन्नाले रोकथामका उपायहरू अपनाउन सकिन्छ भन्ने कुरामा पनि हामीले चाहिँ भन्नाले हाम्रो प्रेस विज्ञप्ति मार्फत विभिन्न हाम्रो चाहिँ टिभी एफएमहरू मार्फत दिने सूचनाहरू मार्फत र हाम्रा चाहिँ भाइबर ग्रुप सामाजिक सञ्जाल मार्फत पनि हामीले ब्रोशरहरू र चाहिँ सूचनाका सामग्रीहरू राखेर चाहिँ वितरण गर्ने गर्छौं र त्यही अनुसार चाहिँ मेजर्सहरुको बारेमा पनि आम मानिसहरुलाई पनि र अन्यहरुलाई पनि चाहिँ हुने गरी चाहिँ एक्सन प्लान चाहिँ बनाएर तयार पारेको छ.
Children, pregnant women, the elderly and those with pre-existing respiration-related problems are the most affected.
Not only limited to respiratory diseases, they also come with high blood pressure, strokes, heart attacks, and we may not have the relation yet, but if we do a study on it, there will be some relation between the pollution and the people developing such diseases. On an individual level, people should wear masks, create a house where there is no pollution, do not burn stuff at your house, okay? Make sure that their vehicles are not emitting a lot of pollution, and also more than the individual level, there has to be some pollution act that will, decrease the pollution in the country itself.
The quality of air also determines the quality of life. To ensure healthy and happy life, the promotion of air quality is needed from both individual and national levels. Reported by Sabika Shrestha with camera person Samir Thapa for NTV World.
As Kathmandu's air quality concern intensifies, we ask residents, what can we do to make Kathmandu's air breathable in our public pulse?
प्लास्टिक जन्य पदार्थहरू त्यस्तो चीजहरू नडढाइदिने कुनै पनि सार्वजनिक ठाउँ अथवा घरहरूमा 20-25 वर्षदेखि गुड्दै आएको गाडीहरू तिनीहरूबाट पनि वायु प्रदूषण भइरहेछ। त्यसलाई त्यसरी तिनलाई नियन्त्रण गरेर वायु प्रदूषण रोक्नमा केही गर्न सकिन्छ।
फोहोर जताततै फाल्दिनु भएन। अब डस्टबिन राखेको हुन्छ छेउछेउमा हैन, त्यहाँ गएर राख्दिनु पर्यो। यताउति राख्यो भने चाहिँ त्यही भएर हामी चाहिँ सचेत आफैले सचेत भइदिनु पर्यो अनि जहाँ डस्टबिन राखेको हुन्छ त्यहाँ फाल्दिनु पर्यो।
My point of view there is like in Kathmandu we can see a lot of vehicles which can create or produce bad air. So I think like we can also get reference from the different countries, like in like Japan we can see there is a like electrical vehicles or they use cycling. So I think we can use cycling or reduce the vehicles in here also. So from that point of view, that we can reduce vehicles and we can reduce these pollutions, and also we can like management of waste, which also can produce a lot of air pollution in here, and we can see like industries which also create produce a lot of air pollution in here. So I think in our point of view, this could happen from the government level.
सबभन्दा पहिला हामीलाई जुन हाम्रो ट्रान्सपोर्टेसन सिस्टम काठमाडौँको हामीलाई त्यो जति छ नि त्यो धुवा फाल्ने गाडीहरू त्यो सबभन्दा पहिला हटाउनु पर्छ, किनभने उले गर्दा सबभन्दा धेरै हुन्छ। अनि सेकेन्डमा हामीलाई जति इभी गाडी हुन्छ नि त्यो इभी गाडी लन्च गर्नुपर्छ, अनि त्यसपछि हामीलाई विकास गर्नुपर्छ, जस्तै ट्रेन ल्याउनु पर्छ, अनि त्यो ट्रेन अनि त्यसपछि त्यस्तै नयाँ विकास गर्नुपर्छ, अनि रोडहरू पनि बनाउनु पर्छ, किनभने रोडले गर्दा नि हुन्छ। अनि हामीलाई त्यो ट्राफिक पुलिस हुन्छ त्यो नि बढाउनु पर्छ, किनभने गल्लीगल्लीहरूमा बुलेटहरूमा साइलेन्सर लाएर यताउति पड्काउँछ, त्यसले गर्दा नि हुन्छ।
We have to reduce the smoke pollution from our industrial, because the industrial are using the more unnecessary chemicals for their more products. So we have to reduce that. Basically we have to focus on industries, and there are many vehicles also that produce a smoke.
अब सबै क्षेत्रमा बडा सहयोग हुनु पर्यो, जस्तो यातायातको भनौँ त्यो धुवा प्रदूषणबाट हुन्छ, घर बनाउनेदेखि निर्माणसम्म हुन्छ हैन। अब जो सबैले आफ्नो क्षेत्रबाट आफूले प्रदूषण कसरी कम हुन्छ त्यो गर्यो भने सम्भव छ। अब यो सरकारले मात्रै एउटा निकायले मात्रै गरेर हुने हैन, सबै अलिकति जनचेतना हुनु पर्यो।
And moving on, as election preparation gains momentum, Nepal's Election Commission has begun consultations with major political parties ahead of the National Assembly elections scheduled for January 24th. Acting Chief Election Commissioner Ram Prasad Bhandari met with representatives of key parties including Nepali Congress, CPN-UML and Maoist Centre to discuss technical and procedural preparations. The election will fill 18 of 19 seats in the upper house of the parliament as the current members' terms expire in February. Under Nepal's federal system, the electoral college includes provincial assembly members and local government leaders. The vote is viewed as a key test of political stability as Nepal continues to navigate coalition politics and institutional reforms. Meanwhile, the Election Commission has launched a new digital system linking voter registration directly with the country's national identity card and biometric database. The move comes as a major step in a bid to make the election transparent and tech-driven. From this week, citizens holding a national ID can complete their voter registration online from home, while those without one must visit their local office. The new system automatically verifies biometric data and photographs, reducing paperwork and long queues that previously slowed registration. Although some users reported server outages and confusion during the rollout, others praised the initiative for saving time and improving accessibility. Election officials say the reform will make the voter list more accurate, citizen-friendly and transparent as preparations continue for the next national and provincial elections. Now in Kathmandu, the capital of Nepal, authorities have demolished illegal structures built by former Energy Minister Deepak Khadka on land belonging to the Nepal Scouts, the country's national youth organization. Kathmandu Metropolitan City used bulldozers to clear the site after Khadka's company failed to pay years of outstanding rent and ignored multiple eviction notices. The land had been leased in 2008 for 10 years, but the agreement expired long ago. The movie seen, in fact, as part of Nepal's wider crackdown on political misuse of public property, reflecting growing public demand for transparency and good governance. Rural communities in Nepal's Magdi district are rapidly emptying as residents migrate to cities and abroad in search of jobs, education and better services. Local records show that in 2024-25 fiscal year, 247 families left their villages while only 89 moved in, a continuing trend that has left many settlements sparsely populated. Officials warn that despite improved infrastructure, including roads under federalism, the outflow shows no sign of slowing, raising concerns over the sustainability of rural life and local economies. We'll take a quick recap of the headlines before looking into the international headliners. World Bank predicts sluggish GDP growth rate for Nepal, cites recent unrest and heightened political uncertainty. Mysterious death of another Nepali student in the UK raises questions over diaspora's safety. Autopsy report awaited. Nepal's embassy in Portugal urges to be wary of fraudulent work visa schemes. The European country suspends work visas for non-skilled jobs. Major metropolises, including Nepal's capital Kathmandu, long for cleaner air in winter to breathe. Air quality likely to further deteriorate. Bangladesh capital Dhaka reels under lockdown. Security beefed up ahead of tribunal's verdict on ousted Prime Minister Hasina. And Sinner reaches the knockout stages of ATP finals, secures straight set win over third seed Zverev. Bangladesh is on high alert ahead of a landmark verdict in the Crimes Against Humanity trial of former Prime Minister Sheikh Hasina. The International Crimes Tribunal will deliver its ruling on November 17 in the first trial of a former Bangladeshi leader. 78-year-old Hasina faces charges over a deadly crackdown on protesters in 2024 that killed more than 1,400 people. Authorities have deployed thousands of security personnel in Dhaka amid reports of arson, bomb blasts and street clashes. She is being tried in absentia and could face life imprisonment or the death penalty. Interim leader Muhammad Yunus has urged calm, warning that the nation must avoid further divisions ahead of elections and a national reform referendum in 2026. Pakistan's parliament has passed a sweeping constitutional amendment granting lifelong immunity to the president and the country's top military leaders. The 27th amendment also creates a powerful new post, Chief of Defence Forces, giving Field Marshal Asim Munir authority over the Army, Navy and Air Force. Under the law, those promoted to the highest military ranks retain their uniforms, privileges and are shielded from criminal prosecution for life. Supporters say the move ensures stability and strengthens defense, but critics warn it concentrates power in the military, undermining democracy and judicial independence in the country. After 43 days, the United States government is reopening. President Donald Trump signed a short-term spending bill late Wednesday, ending the longest federal shutdown in U.S. history. The measure, narrowly approved by Congress, allows government operations to resume after 1.4 million federal workers went unpaid or worked without compensation. The shutdown also disrupted air travel and delayed essential services, including food aid programs. Economists warn the disruption has cost the U.S. economy billions, underscoring the broader impact, in fact, of political gridlock. The government will now operate temporarily while lawmakers negotiate a long-term spending deal. Indian authorities are treating a deadly car blast in Delhi that killed 12 and injured at least 20 as a terror incident. The explosion occurred Monday evening near the historic Red Fort, marking the first such attack in the heavily guarded capital in years. Prime Minister Narendra Modi's cabinet has vowed a swift and thorough investigation, pledging to bring the perpetrators and their sponsors to justice. Officials are probing the incident under stringent anti-terror laws, though no arrests have been yet made. The United States has offered support in the investigation as India works to uncover all angles behind the shocking attack in its capital. Tensions flared at the COP30 climate summit in Brazil as indigenous protesters clashed with security guards, causing minor injuries and damage. Demonstrators breached barriers at the main entrance in Belém, seeking to voice concerns over ongoing environmental destruction. UN and Brazilian security quickly restored order, using barricades to secure the high-level blue zone where negotiations are underway. Protesters say their voices are ignored, while organizers of the March for Health and Climate emphasize that the earlier events were peaceful. The UN confirmed the venue is secure and talks continue, while authorities investigate the rare outbreak of violence at the summit. In the Kyrgyz mountains, locals in Arslanbob are harvesting walnuts from the world's largest wild walnut forest, a tradition and economic lifeline for generations. But the forest is under threat. Overgrazing, illegal logging and rising temperatures have thinned the groves, while poor harvests and declining nut quality are hitting local livelihoods. Efforts to replant millions of trees are underway, but chronic water shortages and hotter, drier conditions are undermining recovery. Experts warn that climate change is reshaping Central Asia's forests, putting both a unique ecosystem and the livelihoods of communities like Arslanbob at risk. Well, business news to follow. For now, a short break yet again.
The World Bank says Nepal's economic growth is expected to slow sharply to about 2.1% in the next fiscal year, citing recent unrest and rising political and economic uncertainty. In its latest Nepal development update, the bank warns that tourism and services will be hardest hit, while hydropower projects are expected to remain stable. Poverty levels are projected to edge up slightly, though growth could rebound to nearly 4.7% the following year as reconstruction gains momentum. Finance Minister Rameshwar Prasad Khanal says Nepal has launched a business revival plan with grants, tax exemptions and support for private recovery. Minister Khanal emphasized that boosting public investment and speeding up infrastructure reforms will be key to rebuilding confidence and jobs in Nepal's economy. Nepal's state-run power utility, the Nepal Electricity Authority, has resumed electricity supply to 22 industries after they paid nearly $1,283,578 the first installment of long-pending electricity dues for what are known as dedicated and trunk lines, special power connections provided to large factories. The authority had earlier cut power to 25 industries over unpaid bills, giving them a 21-day deadline. Most have now started settling their arrears, except a few closed plants. Ministry of Energy, Water Resources and Irrigation, Kulman Gising, says this marks a major breakthrough in recovering industrial electricity dues that had been pending for years.
महसुल चाहिँ तिर्नुपर्छ भनेर एउटा किस्ताबन्दी सुविधा पनि दिएका थियौं त्यो अनुसार उहाँहरूले पहिलो किस्ता तिरेर सबैले प्राय सबैले तिरेर अहिले उद्योगहरू सबै सञ्चालनमा आएको छ रियलले चाहिँ राम्रो मेसेज गएको छ.
The government says the payment process will continue in installments while negotiations are underway to determine the schedule for the next payment. In Nepal, the prices of gold and silver have risen sharply in the domestic market. According to the Federation of Gold and Silver Dealers Association, the yellow metal is now trading at about $1,764.57 per roughly 11.66 grams, up from $1,722.96 on Wednesday. Silver prices have also climbed to $23.58 per roughly 11.66 grams compared to $22.39 earlier. Analysts say global market trends and a stronger US dollar are influencing prices in South Asian countries like Nepal's precious metals market. In Nepal's eastern hills, the price of cardamom, often called black gold, has surged sharply this month. The spice now sells over $730 per about 45 kilograms, up by $169.26 in just 1 month. Cardamom is one of Nepal's top cash crops grown in high-altitude districts like Sakuasaba, Taplejung and Ilam, and exported mainly to India and other international markets. Traders say the rise reflects growing global demand and improved quality grading. Despite the price jump, local farmers say they are yet to see major benefits as most of the profit is captured further down the export chain. Cardamom remains a key source of income for thousands of hill farmers across eastern Nepal. Japanese automaker Toyota says it will invest up to $10 billion in the United States over the next 5 years. The announcement came as Toyota opened a new battery plant in North Carolina, part of its push towards electric vehicles. Company CEO Ogawa Tetsuo called it a pivotal moment for Toyota, saying the move will create sustainable, high-quality jobs across the U.S. The investment follows President Donald Trump's call for global automakers to expand production in America.
And with that, we move on to the sports update. Defending champion Yannick Sinner has advanced to the semi-finals of the ATP Finals after a 6-4, 6-3 victory over two-time winner Alexander Zverev on Wednesday. Italy's Sinner extended his remarkable indoor hard-court winning streak to 28 matches, though the German world number 2 put up a strong fight in the early stages of both sets. Earlier in the Bjorn Borg group, Ben Shelton was eliminated following a defeat to Felix Auger-Aliassime. Sinner and Zverev, the only previous ATP Finals champions in this year's field, now set their sights on the semi-finals. Sinner must remain undefeated to challenge for the year-end world number 1 ranking, while Carlos Alcaraz, currently with 2 wins, faces Lorenzo Musetti on Thursday. Now, UEFA Euro 2028 has officially been launched with celebrations across the UK and Ireland as preparations begin for the largest sporting event ever staged by the co-host nations. More than 3 million match tickets will be available, surpassing any previous tournament, promising excitement for fans worldwide. Matches will take place across 9 stadiums in 8 host cities, showcasing elite international football. Organisers say the tournament will not only deliver thrilling action on the pitch, but also create a lasting legacy for local communities. A special launch event at the 10 Downing Street marked the milestone, highlighting unity, community and economic growth ahead of Euro 2028. And now the weather details from across Nepal. Before wrapping up, let's take a look at the headlines once again. World Bank predicts sluggish GDP growth rate for Nepal, cites recent unrest and heightened political uncertainty. Mysterious death of another Nepali student in the UK raises questions over diaspora's safety. Autopsy report awaited. Nepal's embassy in Portugal urges to be wary of fraudulent work visa schemes. The European country suspends work visas for non-skilled jobs. Major metropolises, including Nepal's capital Kathmandu, long for cleaner air in winter to breathe. Air quality likely to further deteriorate. Bangladesh capital Dhaka reels under lockdown. Security beefed up ahead of tribunal's verdict on ousted Prime Minister Hasina. And Sinner reaches the knockout stages of the ATP Finals, secures straight set win over third seed Zverev. And those are the headlines this hour. Do join us through our social media pages and visit our official website, nepaltelevision.com. I'm Sarah Sapsanama Rai. Thank you for joining us. Good night.